Hi, this is Ryan Ricketts, the main guy behind Slickets Digital, and I have never, ever listened to Nantucket. But I have been on the show a couple of times, but I still won't listen to it.
All right, stop it.
And
Okay,
we're live.
I'm sorry, I stepped on your notification of how live we are. Yes, in fact, we are live. I have a treat for you guys. So those of you in the Patreon had our little intro to it, but for the rest of you plebs, here is. Do they like it when we call them that? They probably
not.
It means,
Probably.
right? I mean, if they were smart enough to know what that meant, they'd pay us $3 a month to join the Patreon. Come on, right? What?
Oh. Okay. Don't insult the listeners, Dustin.
Well, they're not the listeners; they're the non-paying listeners.
Oh, they're still
okay. This is how you lose everyone, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'm just kidding. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Give me a break over here.
It's me. Come on. It's just a little me. Aren't I a stinker? Okay, so I have a script for you that was shared to me in a group chat with. We'll go with friend of the show. Niche internet micro celebrity Woodrow Trilson, aka H. Max Winkler. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
The H is important. It's like the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes, or J.D. Vance. We'll go with that.
J.P. Mandel.
Oh yeah, well that's what it will.
J.P. right? J.D. Mandel.
Yes, J.P. Mandel. So. It's easier if I say Trilson. So Woodrow Trilson made this script for his buddies to read before going out for drinks for the night. And his friends kind of took turn doing a table reading of this in like the living room or whatever as a pre-party event.
Sure.
And I was like, dude, can we read some of this at the start of our show? And if it goes over well, we'll do this over the next few weeks and we'll just kind of get through this.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're in the Patreon, you got the little intro of it. And we got to a point where a narrator is still setting up the beginning of the film. The title is do you want to do the title?
Oh, I got Hallmark.
Yeah, it's Boston themed.
Hallmark.
No, just Hallmark.
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 I couldn't see it because I can't scroll up.
Well, I can't scroll up either, but I mean, I'll lose where we're at if I scroll.
Yeah.
Hallmark, a co-ed pre-party table read. Mm-hmm. So, okay, here we are in this scene. So Sarah's a businesswoman. She's a lady boss. Sarah, here's the narrator. Just cut to her. Meet Sarah. This is the narrator. Meet Sarah. Somewhere between 28 and 45, she has an ambiguous executive position at either an advertising agency, PR firm, investment bank, or high art sales business. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to specify. Doesn't matter. Sarah grew up in whatever USA with only one dream: to be in the big city, work for the same people responsible for the 2008 market crash, and be a girl boss. So 3 dreams. From the opening scene description where she ran from the train station to her meeting, Sarah obviously ran track for a team probably called the Wildcats, and then at Liberal Arts University in what's supposed to be Vermont, but was probably shot 20 minutes away from the studio for budget purposes. You'll know she went to a liberal arts university because in every scene she's not at work, she's going to be drinking wine alone in her loft, wearing one of those acid-washed gray crew necks with the logo of the school in the middle with writing too small to see. Sarah is work hot. If you saw her at the bar down the street, you'd probably start having a discussion about how many beers it would take you to sleep with her. You'd probably say it's 8. You're lying. Your buddies know you rarely drink that much. And when you do, you either get all sad and start talking about that girl you were talking to when you studied abroad in Amsterdam who never worked out, or you start naming moderately obscure athletes from your childhood, like Tyler Eifert. Remember that guy? Randomly had like 13 receiving touchdowns in 2016 as a tight end, and then nobody heard from him ever again. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. The point is, you'd do her after 3 beers if she came up to you, and you know it. But that's not important. Back to Sarah. Sarah got her job just like anyone else did back then. She solved a complicated math problem while working as a janitor for an office building. Alan.
Sarah gets to her meeting. Obviously, all 4 walls are made of glass, and London is on the line from the black phone with the PA system, even though it's 3 a.m. their time. But who cares? It's a Hallmark movie.
Josh Black. Yo, Sarah, catch. Josh Black, the only black person in the movie, is Sarah's best work friend and confidant. He throws a basketball at her in an attempt to show white moms watching this at 2 p.m. that the Hallmark Channel cares about diversity. Sarah catches the ball and rolls it out of frame.
Sarah, J-Dog, J-Bone, J-Walked, J to the
Izzo.
J-Bird. What's the word? I'm so happy you're here, especially with all those stereotypes about black people and timing. Josh Black is somehow holding the basketball again, twirling it in his finger.
Hey, remember in the pre-show or the hidden track when we were talking about Trump at the black journalist thing?
Yes.
Did you notice that part where he's like, plus you started 35 minutes late? And I was
Yes.
like, oh, is he saying what I think he's saying? Josh Black, we just told corporate about your idea to do that thing with our product. They loved it. Tell her, Aldous AZ, a white guy who was one of those white guys who could also be either Lebanese. Hey, Alan, tune in, see if this sounds familiar. One of those white guys who could be either Lebanese or Puerto Rican if you looked hard enough, was another coworker in the meeting. Sound familiar, Alan?
Yeah, it does. Aldous, it's true. We didn't think you were going to pull it off, but in watching a woman succeed at a fake company, we as friendly but unintentionally sexist male businessmen learned something about ourselves. I guess you were right. We won't be needing this anymore.
Aldous Az holds up an old book called The Rules and throws it in one of those small metal trash cans you get in a hotel room that are made to look like a chain link fence so you can see everything in it.
Sarah, I'm so glad I sprinted through the entire city at 8 in the morning for something that could have been an email. Anything else? Josh Black.
Go ahead.
Josh Black, who now has a second basketball and a Letterman jacket, speaks again.
Josh Black. Actually, yeah, I was wondering if you could use some of your white savior powers to help me with this work problem. I have a meeting on the books with this client from Santa Fe to negotiate a merger, but it turns out the big game is that day. What do I do? On the other hand, I don't want to get fired, but on the other hand, the big game.
Sarah, is the big game here?
Where is it? Oh,
Sarah.
sorry. Where is here?
Sarah, the big city.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right by that neighborhood that was gentrified a few years ago.
Sarah, why don't you take your client to the big game?
That's the problem. My client hates sports, especially the big game.
Oh, no. Sarah, well, some things are more important than work. This is probably your last scene anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Josh Black, who now has a third basketball, stands up triumphantly.
Man, we are so lucky to have a strong, confident, white, and single boss. It's like, how could you even have time for a man with all these great businesses that you do?
Sarah, it's almost like that's going to be the point. She turns back to Aldous as, so Aldous, I heard you have a big date coming up.
That's right. We're going to that new place that just opened up.
Sarah, wow, she's a lucky girl.
Sorry, I see where we're ending this and I'm nervous. Aldous, ha 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 ha. Yeah, totally. Super lucky girl. Aldous tugs at his shirt collar like he's stressed, like he's the stressed juror. Hold on. Aldous as tugs. Yeah, super lucky girl. Aldous as tugs at his shirt collar like a stressed juror from 12 Angry Men.
Aldous, oh yeah, the boss wants to see you in his office. He says it's urgent.
I'm Sarah now. It's a good thing we scheduled this meeting at the exact same time. I have to run. Thanks for opening. Alan, I'm so excited you get this next line. I have to run. Thanks for hopping on the phone, London.
God damn it. How did this end up here?
So London is responding to that as the scene ends.
Right. See ya.
Oh, wait, I'm not on the right page, Alan. Hold on.
It's a spicy word. I'm not
I
gonna say.
know. Luckily we have it in the show sheet.
Okay.
Okay, do it again.
See ya.
Fagatoga.
Y'all let me in this damn house.
Should we hit record?
Yeah, one.
Thanks, Woodrow.
All right, you ready?
I am ready.
Thrash can say.
Are you recording?
Yes. All right. Well, you want to start a show?
Let's start a show.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
No offense taken there.
Well, it sounds like none taken.
Boom. episode number 389 of No Ticket, the internet's only debate and current events show with your hosts Dustin and Alan. Two political nomads, two different worlds. Shout out to Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band for the use of their song Ways and Means for intro music. And thank you for joining us. At the time of this recording, it is Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. It's a great day for America. Nice to be back on a Tuesday, bud.
Yeah.
We are two coastal elites coming to you from the shores of the mighty Cumberland in Madison, Tennessee, all the way to the Pacific waters of El Cerrito, California. Here to recap another week of current events and sharing way too much of our tragic personal life. Although I don't think I wrote anything down for the weekend, so I'll have to wing it. And we're taking a sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers. Please, we really don't ask for much. First of all, tune in every week, enjoy the show. It's primary directive. But if you can, head on over to wherever you're listening to this. If they have an option to rate or review, I bet you they do. Give us a quick little review. I don't even care how many words you use, just enough to satisfy their threshold. And then give 5 stars, because we're 5-star guys. And slap that shit on there, and maybe send us a screenshot of it too, so we can share that on our Instagram story.
Slap that shit.
Slap that 5-star down. And then if you got a little bit of money in your pocket, like $3 a month, you can join the Patreon. It's $3, $9, $18. If you show into the $18 level, we send you a shirt that says Culture War Veteran, which you clearly have earned, especially if you like the show that much. You're one of us. One of us. Nonetakenpod.com to do so. There's other things you can do there. Alan will tell you about that.
Nonetakenpod.com. You can get our merch store over there. We got lots of cool stuff for you: shirts, hoodies, cups with all our logos, fun stuff. Our socials are there. Any RSS feeds you need are there. And also, don't forget to support the people that support us. Slickitsdigital.com.
That guy from the opening?
Yes, for all your SEO and marketing needs, slickitsdigital.com.
The legend himself.
Indeed. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Hope you all
Hell yeah, one of us says it.
Hope you all having a great week. Let's see. What did I get up to this weekend? Not a whole lot. I did friend of the show, Tim and Allison, were house sitting again right down the street from me.
Down the street. Did you lose a dog?
No, dude. I was like triple checking that door every time.
Yeah.
I was like, make sure that's
Yeah.
like trying to make sure. Yeah. Then we just hung out. We had a good time. It was a beautiful day out here in the Bay weekend out here in the Bay Area. It was a nice time. I'm working on a little project for a buddy. So I spent a lot of time working on that too. But that's about it, man. What about you?
Nice.
What'd you get up to?
I'm excited about that project. You told me a little bit about that. Let's not spoil it.
It's not.
I got into a little bit midweek last week. So the reason we recorded on Monday last week is because on Tuesday, Natasha and I went to a concert down at the Ryman downtown.
Right.
So are you familiar with the artist Postmodern Jukebox?
Only because you brought it up. I wouldn't have known.
Okay.
Without, yeah.
So they've come across my eyes.
Eardrums.
They came across my ears. Speaking of which, I'm drinking a pineapple IPA, so it makes my cum taste better, Alan.
Nice. Nice.
Anyways, they came across my ears several times, and I especially like a few. So for anybody who isn't familiar with Postmodern Jukebox, in a sentence, they play modern music in covers as a big band style. That's how I would describe it. Big band music covering modern songs. That's actually a better way to say it. I should have practiced that at least once. So it's a little catchy, a little gimmicky, but the greatness of the way that the music is arranged transcends any like
cheesiness.
Yeah. One of my favorites of theirs was it rah 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 ah ga ga oh la la Lady Gaga. Yeah, they did the Bad Romans, not bad Romans. They do the Bad Romans song really well. They played that one live. I was like, well, I'm glad I came just for this.
Nice.
Tasted like pineapple. Guess what? Guess what?
Continue to create calm.
I got buttons all day. Buttons galore. Buttons galore. That's a good name. Buttons galore.
I like it.
I can't even read that. What was I doing? Oh, show. So I was excited to see them. Natasha was really excited to see them. I think I bought the tickets. I believe that concert was a gift, Natasha, but I'm sure you'll remember and correct me. So before we
Wait,
left,
are you asking her to Venmo you or something?
no, I just, for my birthday, she took me to see Spoon, and that was like,
Oh, nice.
she took me to that. This one, I want to be able to say, well, I took you to go see Post Malone.
I got it. Okay.
So before we left, I had said to her, like, while I was getting dressed or whatever, I was like, I wore something appropriate to leave the house in and look like
a concert goer. Sure.
yeah, but I wasn't like super dressed up. But while I was getting my clothes on, I was like, you know what? This band is for like weird people. Like, I don't know how, like your gut just tells you that this band, and not weird like Trump supporters, not like the whole MAGA is weird thing, like just,
A little different.
a little different. And I think I'll get a little bit more specific in just a second.
Okay.
So as we're getting into the show, I'm like, I got it. These guys make music for autists. I'm in the bathroom, and it's guys in Disney button-up shirts and like suit vests with long sleeve shirts underneath, like, and not fedoras, but other like fancy hats. And like, what's that hat where it like folds up like the cabbie hat? Is that what that's called?
Oh, like the ones Samuel L. Jackson used to wear all the time, like the Kangol?
Yeah, sort of Kangol one. Yeah, kind of like that. Not cool though, like the old-timey version of it.
Okay,
right?
all right.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, this checks out. This is exactly what I was like. I knew it was going to be fucking nerds in some, and like, oh, I got it. Theater kids. It's like theater kids.
Yes, okay. I can see that.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally. I'm weird. Like, I
fit in that crowd.
I don't think that they think I'm one of them, but I think I am. I just don't have to dress up for it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Half the audience was late because they were trying to park. Here's a whole story about that. It goes back to the autism. So like the main parking lot for the Ryman is at this food hall. I think we went to that food hall. Maybe not. I don't know if you went there with us, but you park in this underground parking lot below like a food hall where there's like a bunch of different.
Oh, that sounds familiar. I think we did.
Yeah. Well, the QR code you have to scan to pay wasn't linking, and you had to like verify, get a text to verify, and then like open up the parking payment app. And like, I was just, half the audience wasn't there when it started, and I was like, I know what's happening. They're like, no, I have to pay. I have to be able to know that my car, like, you get it, right?
Yeah,
I don't mean to offensively stereotype. We like to be cheeky stereotypes. Let's keep it in that context.
Cheeky and fun.
Yeah. So they before they started the show, they started giving out all these like numerical facts. They're like, today is our 10-year anniversary. This is a great show for you to be at. We've done over 5 million minutes of performances. And
you're saying they know their audience.
They even said we have some rules, and they laid out some rules. They were like, by the way, who's dressed up? And we turned the house lights on. Who's dressed up? Back to the theater kid stuff. Oh, the guys in front of me were snapping after every song. It was so, other people were clapping, by the way, but they were snapping. It's like, why even do that? That's just a gesture. Nobody can hear you snapping. Like, you're doing a gesture. Like, don't do anything at that point. Like, it's a roaring audience, and you're like, that was very bothersome. Also, the guy in front of me, he had the type of hair where you're like, oh, I want to touch it so bad. Do you know what I mean?
I think I do.
You're like, oh, can I touch it? Can I touch it? It's not like I never have before, and it's not like I'm that white that I don't know. It's just a compulsion that I would like to touch your hair. I would like to politely request if I can touch your hair, not in the racist way. It sensorially looks appealing. Now, who's the autist? Not the texture. So the thing that was annoying about his hair was that it was he had like the sides shaved, so it only went wide up at the very top. And you know, like people move their head side to side when they're to the music. He would do it like this, full shoulder to shoulder. It was like he was touching his ear to his shoulder. Like, it was work to do it. I was like, because when you're at a seated venue, you're like, put your head in that spot that gets to the side of the person in front of you, and they go to the side of the person in front of them. There's a whole system to it. But when you can nod your head a little bit and not be in that person's view. But when you insist on making the top of your head touch your fucking shoulder and then go to the other side, you've created an arc that is blocking everyone behind you. Like, in no matter what position, it was so fucking annoying. And the thing I hate about going to the Ryman is, one, it's an old church, so it's wooden pews, and they think it's really cute. Well, my ass fucking hurts sitting
Oh
on
God,
that. I
yeah,
don't
that
like
doesn't sound good. Yeah.
And nobody stands because it's Nashville and they're all uptight and they're all probably from the music industry. So they're like, yeah, I see music all the time. I don't need to stand up. It's not a big deal. It's like, man, when I go to a concert, I want to be up and moving and enjoying it. And we're just sitting here tapping our feet. Of course, that guy's moving his head shoulder to shoulder. What else can he do? I fucking hate going to the Ryman. Nobody enjoys themselves. And you have to sit there. By the time the show, they did an encore. And I was like, please don't do another encore. And they did. And we were like, we're leaving. Glad we did. This was up there with the worst rainstorm I've ever been in. We walked to our car, it was fine, but by the time we were driving home, it was just like Jurassic Park. Like, remember when Ned and the Dilophosaurus spits the venom in his face? He's like, oh, go get the stick. No wonder you're extinct. Remember that whole scene?
I do. Yeah.
How's this a 2.5 hour show and I talk this much about Dennis Nedry? So yeah, it was like that level of rain, and I'm next to a bus, and I know I'm in my lane, but the bus is very not concerned. So I had to like get behind the bus, and I was just like, oh, Natasha was freaking out, and I'm like, this is fun, like I'm loving it. I wasn't loving it. I was just trying to make her not be afraid. Yeah. It was fun, man. It was a good show. I highly recommend people see Postmodern Jukebox, especially for autistic listeners, which I understand there's quite a few of you, and I love you.
We love all of you. Yes, we do.
Very inclusive.
Welcome.
Exactly, sir.
All right, why don't we get into our comedy clips? I have 2 here from Young Thrash Lad, as is tradition. First one, a different type of
neurodivergence,
atypicality. Helen Keller.
Reading the history book about segregation recently because I'm fun at parties, and I learned that one of the many things that we racially segregated until the Civil Rights Act in this country were schools for the blind. And I think we can all agree, even if you're racist, what a waste of money. And then the book told me that one of the foremost people who was against racism was Helen Keller, who was born blind and deaf. And I thought it was so impressive that someone who lived such a difficult life would lend her voice to helping people get out of difficulties that she would never in her life understand. And I think the only thing more impressive than Helen Keller being anti-racist is if Helen Keller was racist as fuck. Because most of the time, if someone was like, I don't like it, your skin's different, I'd be like, fuck you. But if Helen Keller was like, get away from me, I'd be like, bye, Joe. How does she do it?
I was not prepared for that trash. Oh, Tucker likes it though. Oh my God. All right, let's just move on to Sam Morril.
Yes.
Also from Young Thrash Lad.
One night stand with a woman once we're at my apartment. I'm going down on her. And she's I don't one night stand with a woman once we're at my apartment. I'm going down on her and she's taking her time. And not trying to be insensitive, I have legitimate neck concerns. So, you know. The whole time I'm down there, I'm just thinking of all the PT I'm going to have to do to get back on track. There's resistance band work. It's a whole thing. It was at least 22 minutes because an entire episode of Frasier played in the back. Yeah. And if anyone's wondering, that show does hold up. Yeah, with my mouth I was licking, but with my mind I was like, fucking Niles. That guy is a rascal, an OG legend. And then like 35 minutes in, she just went, I came. No build-up. No, no shaking of the leg, just a wooden delivery. I came. You ever watching an indie film and the credits just pop up out of nowhere? I was like, did you just No Country for Old Men me with your cooch? I don't.
By the way, that probably means she didn't.
I was going to say it. I'm glad you did, Alan. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's nice to admit it. I like his lack of concern for self-deprecation there. Yes. Okay, I got one Loadmaster sent in about gun control. Of all things, someone named Loadmaster sent us one about gun control. This is this says Chip and Cheese Comedy. That can't be the guy's name. God, I hate it when they do this. Give me a person's name. If I find it, I'll tell you. Sorry.
Okay. Dude, I have come up with a way that I think I can get both sides to agree on gun control. I think I have come up with the only way. Here's the deal. If you're a liberal or you're a progressive or you're just someone out there that thinks that we have a gun issue in this country, the next time you see a gun, don't complain about it. Buy it. Buy every fucking gun. Liberals, buy every fucking gun you see. If you're a lesbian, I fucking know you have a Subaru. Put it on the roof rack, all right?
You don't have to. Dude, no, in the Outback, they put the spare tire underneath the trunk there. Why was I about to say it was someone I know? It was me. I had a black Subaru Outback.
I remember your
Yeah,
lesbian days. I remember. Yeah.
Yes. And I had turned that into like a whole gun storage area where I had like my shotgun in there and I had all my ammo and stuff. Like it was.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah. I was like, I don't need a spare tire. It's an Outback.
Ride around New York City like you're Mad Maxine.
It's badass. Like you'd open up the trunk and fold that up like it was fucking
like you're John Wick or something.
CTU from like what was CTU from 24?
I can tell you right now from firsthand experience, the only thing that would ever change my Uncle Charlie's opinion on the Second Amendment is if the next time he went to the gun range, he had to wait 9 hours in line behind 700 non-binary communists, all right? And he's gonna be like, I don't think they should have guns. They should never have guns. And I get to be like, holy fuck, Uncle Charlie, you said they. Good job on the fucking pronoun, brother. Dude,
Oh man, most of the commies I know are pretty pro-gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reasons. They have reasons. That's very funny.
Yeah.
That was very good. Yeah.
Yep. Nameless sent a couple in. I'm going to play both of them. This is actually Nameless sent more than a couple in. I'm playing 2. This is Tom Ballard. Ballard, B-A-L-L-A-R-D, not Ballard, right?
I think it's Ballard.
Ballard. This is titled Fuck the Pope. And it's muted. Great job, Dustin. Excellent job. Just, set it up with the shock value and then dead air.
Fuck the Pope.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this religious bigotry against my community. It doesn't make any sense. Like the Catholic Church is against trans people. What? The Catholic Church is against trans people. Your whole faith is based on the idea of transubstantiation. So what? Sam can't become Samantha, but your guy can turn into bread? Fuck off. So last year, Pope Francis came out against surrogacy. He said surrogacy undermines the dignity of the mother and the child, and he backed a global ban on surrogacy. Dude, your Messiah is a surrogacy baby! Your God microwaved his son in a virgin. That's fucking weird, bro. Jesus Christ was raised by his virgin mum, his human dad, his God dad, who's also him, the Holy Ghost, and a shitload of fucking angels. That's the most rainbow family shit I've ever heard in my life. Fuck the Pope.
Good, okay. Glad we got one more fuck the Pope in the podcast.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it.
All right. And then, this one's pretty fun. This is also from Nameless. This is less spicy, but an excellent social commentary that I didn't connect before. This is Acme Comedy Club. Come on, who did this?
I know this guy. I just can't think of his name.
It's Pete Lipet. Oh, come on. Why would he make his name so hard? Pete Lipet. Pete Lee? I bet it's Pete Lee. It's Pete Lee. It's Pete Lee 3 times. That's what it is. Pete Lee.
I saw a guy with a hat on the other day. It said, I'm an alcoholic. My favorite thing in the world is drinking outdoors, and I want everyone to know it. Well, it didn't say all that. It just said Yeti. That's what it meant. Come on, nobody loves coolers that much. That's like a crackhead wearing a hat that says mirrors. No, I'm just super psyched about mirrors, you guys. I saw a guy with a hat.
Oh, I did a double Kamala.
You can't have that.
We can.
Sure. We just did. So
James sent one in. Do I have any? No notes here. Just James. We're going in raw here. What do I got? This is from Joe. Okay. Jono Zalay. Jono. First name. Last name Zalay.
Zalay.
Something about Bernoulli's principle. This is physics.
I think my problem is even though I no longer do research, I still know so much science. It's ruined my appreciation for normal things. Let you guys know it should actually be, you are the wind above my wings. But Bette Midler doesn't know about aerodynamics. In fact, wind beneath your wings would cause you to immediately nosedive.
Plain jokes.
Which makes that song sarcastic.
I put the long Taylor. I'm so sorry for the long Taylor. I don't normally.
Too much Taylor. Too much
Taylor. Man, that's a good joke, though.
That was good.
I got and Bobby Ferg sent this one. Is it okay to call Robert Ferguson Bobby Ferg?
I mean, you'd have to ask him that, I guess.
Bobby Ferg, what do you think about this? It's a base jumping joke. Quick joke about base jumping, and then we'll get into the rest of the show proper.
All right, y'all are cool. So I don't
This is Max Fine.
drink anymore. I got really into drugs. One of
I don't drink anymore. I got really into drugs.
one of my best friends quit drinking, and he got into base jumping, which, yeah, dude, it's like where you jump off of rocks, and you're like, God's got it from here, dude. I wish he kept drinking. So he called me this week, and he was like, dude, it's gonna be a weird call. Just get ready. Like, you lost a friend recently. Do you mind if I talk to you? I was like, of course. What happened, man? He's like, dude, one of my best friends just passed away in a base jumping accident. I was like, well, no, he didn't. He died. You don't pass away when you're base jumping, right? Like, that's not how it works. You don't pass away upon impact. That's not the same, dude. Like, right? Like, he fought a brief battle with the ground. That's all right, y'all.
And that closes Comedy Corner.
Let's get into a semantic argument about passing away. That's
right. All right, well, let's get into our.
Oh, how about that?
With a clip that Alan shared. Alan, friend of the show, submitted an interesting fact about nanotubes. Am I setting it up fine?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
This is a video about one of the most unfortunate naming accidents that has happened in science. So a few years ago, people...
I should get the button ready, shouldn't I?
You should.
Okay.
We're getting very excited about carbon nanotubes. You can think of these things as though they're like very, very, very microscopic straws. Lots of potential applications, very exciting time. Lots of papers were written about nanotubes, but you don't want to write it out every time, so people just abbreviated it to NT. And then a group of scientists in China got on board and wanted to see if they could make nanotubes out of other materials. And they managed to make some out of copper. But to distinguish them from all the other nanotubes that people were talking about,
Physics nerds out here are fucking, they already get it.
They already know.
they decided to use the elemental symbol at the front of the abbreviation for nanotube. Here's a picture of the paper. Yeah, not ideal.
Alan, what are they called?
I'm a cunt.
Yeah, so copper is Cu on the periodic table, and so
And
you just
then
add that in front of the nanotubes.
Next Tuesday, right after that.
Yeah. Yes.
How about that?
How about that?
This is a fun, quick little story. This is a, you know what? Inappropriate corner is what we should start calling this part of the show. So you do?
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah, he's a comedian from Iceland. Dude, Alan, your knowledge of comedians is always impressive. I love it. You're like, I know this niche comedian. So he's an Icelandic comic, very famous. So I mean, he's probably the most famous Icelandic comedian. Let's give a name to him. Oh, nope, don't know why I tried to do that. God damn it. Gripper Singelinden. Rosen penis. So this is a story about why he can't get verified on Instagram.
So a lot of people ask me why I don't get verified, and that is because in one of the 600 videos I made, this little fella called this mountain Hommatittur, but it is called the Holmatindur, and Hommatittur means a faggot, so that's why I can't get verified. I've tried. Hey! Magnus, hvað heitir
Here's the video.
So a lot.
Oh, how about that? How about that?
I have a show title so far of "Can I Touch Your Hair?" Is that what you were saying earlier?
What I was saying?
No, remember in the pre-show?
Oh yeah. No, that's not. I don't think that's. I can't remember what I said.
You remember what it was?
I'll think of it.
Folks, in the pre-show, we were actually it came up more than once, and Alan was like, "We should name the pre-shows." I was like, "I bet you it'll come up again," and sure enough,
it did.
It did. I have some gender controversy.
Oh.
And Dr. Huey Lee is here to elaborate on it more. We're a big fan of Dr. Huey Lee, Hueyli on Instagram.
I saw this dude arguing that he should not be responsible for lowering the toilet seat because the husband and the wife should share the burden of toggling the setting.
You thought I was going to talk about that Olympic boxer, didn't you?
I did. I was like,
oh,
here we
that's in
go.
the culture war. You're going to have to
Okay,
wait
all right.
another hour and 45 minutes, something like that.
I don't have a dog in the fight because I always sit down at the toilet. I have no idea, like literally zero, why men have to stand when they pee. Like you're not in the wild. You have this comfortable seat. Why not?
This guy's out here perjuring himself. Like nobody's making him do this. He's like, no, let me tell you.
Not fucking use it. Standing means you have to aim. That's a lot of work. Well, let's say you're a good shot and you never miss. Okay, good for you. But what about the splashing? When you start from that height, it's like a fucking waterfall. Like imagine the impact. Thousands of droplets all over the place. What's so good about that? Really, I can't think of one benefit. Like if you prefer sitting down when you eat and watch TV, why do you want to stand when you pee? The only reason I can think of is a psychological one. Some of you are just too alert about acting like women. So urinating is like a gender-affirming ritual or something. You just have to do it like a man. But dude, nobody's watching. You're behind a closed door by yourself. How is it gonna affect your social identity? Well, I fully believe in the idea that gender is a choice. But still, I don't think it's something you can just switch back and forth by adopting different positions in the bathroom. It's not that easy. You know what? I not only convinced my son to sit down at the toilet, I even convinced my dad. You know how hard it is for older men to overcome their prostates. So I was like, why don't you just sit down and take your time? Seriously, guys, talk to your old man. They'll thank you later on.
Oh, wait, before, did you ever watch Tim and Eric?
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
I sit down when I pee. There's nothing that crazy about me. I'm just taking a whiz. Mind your own biz. Why is everybody always staring at me?
I don't recall that. No.
It's always in my head. Alan, do you sit down when you pee?
Not usually.
What percentage of urination time are you in the seated position?
Probably like, maybe 20%. I will say that peeing outside standing up is one of the great pleasures of being
Absolutely. Who the fuck's going to sit down and pee outside, Alan? You're going to
especially like off a deck or something. That's good times. That's good times.
Yeah. I don't think anybody sits down. I don't think.
No, I'm just saying
pee outside.
That's not what I'm saying.
If you say peeing outside, it's implied you're standing up. What kind of a monster squats as a man?
What I said was that's one of the great pleasures of being a male.
Is
being able to do that.
That and a pair of testicles, as the big Lebowski once taught us.
Sure.
You notice that the real Jeffrey Lebowski looks a lot like Tim Waltz? He does, right?
I hadn't put those together until now, but yes, I can see it.
Real men also cry.
Real men also cry.
Let's do a quick little Olympics update. Speaking of gender issues, but not yet in the culture war. So, I didn't press this button.
Oh, about that.
By the way, I said the show would be shorter because I would limit our how about that to 5 clips, and then I added a sit down while you pee song. I think we're doing fine on time, Alan. So speaking of the sit down when you pee and gender conflicts, why don't we take a quick little diversion to an Olympics update? It's not the clip you think of. We're going to talk about that in the second half. In the culture wars, it's appropriate in the culture wars. What else do you want to talk about it? But for now, I want you to close your eyes. It's okay if you've already seen. Oh, you haven't seen this yet. I closed the sharing. Okay, don't look.
Okay, not looking.
If you're not looking, what creature do you think is emitting this sound? Forget that I primed you with the Olympics.
Okay.
When you're putting your mind to it, you know exactly what to do indoors. How was that for you?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was such a strong race. We were all running so fast, multiple running in the 50s, so I knew I had to go out fast.
That sound like Mickey Mouse to you?
It leaked in front of me, so I wanted to be in front, and I could hear how big she was behind me, so I was like, okay, this is good, now we keep going, and this crowd is so amazing.
When you're putting your mind to
just a mouse in Netherlander or whatever.
Did she just do like some whippets or something? What's going on?
I think this is just how. Is it Neanderthal? What do you call people from the Netherlands?
It's definitely not Neanderthal. That would be offensive, I think.
Oh, Netherlanderthal.
There's no thal at the end.
Oh, I don't know what Netherlander. Netherlander?
That sounds like Minecraft. I don't know.
Deutsch. No, that's German.
Yeah. Dutch.
Do you get
Let's
the
go.
Dutch confused with the Deutsch and the other ones? Holland. I have a Dutch accent. Isn't that funny?
The most recent Dan Carlin.
Oh, I loved it.
I liked it too, but I can't get like all those S words straight. Like which one is which? Like the Scandinavian and the other. There's
Oh,
like
dog. I've got one for you.
okay.
Belgrade.
Belgrade.
What?
Belgrade. Are you trying to? Oh, I thought you were doing
This,
different.
this one. Are
Oh,
those
okay.
two different
Sorry.
places?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Belgrade, Belgium, Belfast, Belarus. I know where they are,
Yeah.
but I have to think every fucking time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially Belgrade and Belfast. Oh, and Brussels for some reason too.
I can see it.
Belgrade, Brussels, Belfast, and
Belfast. I don't have a problem with. The other ones,
Oh?
yeah.
Which one's Belfast?
Ireland. Yeah.
Okay. I get Belfast and Brussels confused, and also Belgrade. Belgrade's Serbia, right?
I think yes.
It doesn't sound like it should be in Serbia.
It doesn't.
Yeah, they should have like, you know, there's not enough in it.
Yeah. There should
Okay,
be
don't
some-
look. I've got a sound for you.
Oh, okay.
I want you to name this sound. This is a very well. I don't want to prime anything. So you're not looking, right?
Not looking.
Okay.
It's like a bird. Oh, I've heard tortoises have sounded like that too. though.
Yeah, like the turtles having sex.
Yeah, yeah.
You're close.
What
One
is
more.
it?
One more time.
Okay.
Don't look. It's JD Vance's sofa when it's full. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This is a baby sloth.
Aw.
Isn't that cute?
That is cute. I've never heard a sloth make a noise.
Me either. Me either.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, don't look.
Okay.
Guess what this sound is? You're going with Soundgarden?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, you're mistaken. This is JD Vance's dad walking in on him fucking the couch. You want to hear it again? Yeah, he would like him to finish so that they could come down and play Yahtzee.
Nicely
You can
done.
actually thank Postmodern Jukebox for that. They did a cover of that, and I was like, you know what? If you isolate "Son, don't you come? Won't you come?" There's a meme there. I haven't figured it out.
And you found it.
Yep.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
All right, well, that wraps up.
Oh,
And let's move ourselves into
Isn't that
this is where the show gets serious. I want to talk about philosophy, okay? This is a very serious show. So we wait 42 minutes to start talking about things that are intellectually honest. It's a dumb show, and I fucking love doing it with you, bud. And I appreciate
Good
every
time.
single person that listens to it. You guys
Absolutely.
know, I was just saying that to make you mad about the whole plebs thing. You don't even know what plebs mean. I mean, not most of you, but you.
Not helping, Dustin. Not helping.
Okay, I promise you, there was one person that didn't know what that meant, and it's fine. It didn't bother them. But now it does, because they're like, look, I might be
Now
dumb,
they
but
Google
I know
it.
you're being mean.
And Google sucks now.
They
so
probably
you can
pronounce it
result.
as plebes. Anybody who pronounces it as plebes can just stop listening. It's fine. I don't care.
I still love you, listener. If you
All
pronounce
right,
it that
keep
way.
listening for Alan, but
Yes.
hate me. Oh, I was listening to Philosophize This podcast. I love the Philosophize This podcast. Did you listen to the newest episode yet?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I sent you clips from it, didn't I? Or I sent
No.
you screenshots saying we're going to talk about this on the show, didn't I?
No, I don't think so. I just listened. I like it.
I think I sent you things saying we're going to talk about this, but I don't know. Okay, so should I set up the clip? I think I will. So this is so there's a modern day philosopher named Martha Nussbaum. She has a book that I will be reading soon called, actually, I just finished Project Hail Mary, so I will be reading The Monarch. Wait, The Monarch Democracy?
It's not the. It's the Monarchy of Fear.
The Monarchy of Fear. I think I deleted something in my notes. Yeah.
Yes.
So her book is The Monarchy of Fear. Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
So this clip I'm going to play is a little bit about how like fear dominates our politics, and I think my notes are fine coming in after we play the clip. So here we go.
reforms, flattening the hierarchies, all these things may be a good thing for people, and let's certainly have a conversation about it. But what if a major factor that we're completely overlooking here, that's the reason our democracies have been functioning so poorly, and the reason so many people currently feel powerless to...
This to me touches on all our culture wars, a lot of the stuff we deal with on the show about how we have an experiment in democracy. We have these vulnerabilities where we are willing, like our society is an open society, which allows mistakes to be made so that the mistakes might, like evolutionarily speaking, create the potential success stories of the future. But in order to do that, you have to let things happen outside of like the status quo or the
Yeah, sometimes those those aberrations don't work out well. Sometimes they do,
right. And as long as we kind of like are honest with each other, we can allow that to exist, but it takes a certain standard that we all are supposed to live up to for that to be successful, right?
Yes.
And she's talking about sort of the failures that we're experiencing and why in the context of fear and people leveraging fear. And I think that's good, right? Is that good enough setup?
That's good. Yeah.
Certainly have a conversation about it. But what if a major factor that we're completely overlooking here, that's the reason our democracies have been functioning so poorly, and the reason so many people currently feel powerless to be able to change anything, maybe what has changed in recent years is not that the system has proven to be a failure, but that maybe a toxic level of fear as an emotion has overtaken our political discourse. And it's gotten to such an extreme level that the democratic institutions we believe in and the ways they're designed to work essentially cannot function from within this new climate of fear that we've created. To put it another way, what if the problem is actually that anything political is always emotional? And what if the primary emotion of our politics has become fear? And that instead of inciting some total revolution, what if we already have the system we need to be able to solve our political problems, but that what we need as citizens, if we want to be able to use our democracies in the ways they were designed to work, is we need to be living a more examined life when it comes to our political emotions, so that we're not so easily captured by media companies and politicians that use our emotions to keep us locked in a monarchy of fear.
So I'm hearing it requires discipline, right?
Mm-hmm. And self-awareness. A lot of what she talks about is that there is this sort of response to emotion where we try to dismiss it and try to rise above that. But really, if we examine that and why it's there in the first place, we can actually use that, productively. And what she's talking about when she talks about this fear thing, I think you can look at what's happening in Britain right now and just see like politicians or people who want to be rabble rousers use that fear to drive people to do things that are really against their own interest. And so that's what she's talking about, I think, there.
Well, and as we all know, fear is the mind killer, right?
Yep.
Fear is
it shuts down your ability to process things intellectually.
Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye. Okay. Do you want me to not read Dune to you? I thought Dune was cool.
Dune is cool.
Yeah. It's been a year since it was in theaters. I guess it's,
That was Dune 2.
What? Don't make me get upset about the order that the movies. Dune 2, Electric Boogaloo. They're all breakdancing on their cardboard.
Yeah.
But fear is the mind killer. I mean, there's a reason that was said, right?
Sure.
And like, don't, and like, did I take away from your point you were making?
No.
My trivial indulgence. So one of her points is that she identifies that happening in overly segregated societies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I don't really want to talk about her solution. I don't care for her recommending we have mandatory service.
Well, a lot of people have recommended that there be mandatory service. However,
it doesn't mean military, right?
I was just going to say that you have to define mandatory service. It doesn't necessarily mean military at all.
But it makes you have skin in the game, right?
Yep. Yeah. And also it forces you to engage with people that perhaps you otherwise wouldn't, given your little bubble that you live in.
And we used to get that from like going to church.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
we're all Christians and we live here, so we go to the local church.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out there's blacks in this neighborhood. I guess they aren't that bad. Oh my God, homosexuals.
Yeah, I mean, so we've talked about this before on the show, but there is something that we lost. There is something that we lost when we turned away from those sort of institutions. And I think those institutions had probably run their course, and it's for the best that we move on. But we have to replace them with something else to still have that
social
sense of
media.
community. Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Social
No?
media.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. That's totally
helping,
totally
right?
unifying. It really builds community, I think.
Yeah, you go on there to find people like you, and oh right, and that's why you listen to None Takens to bust through the take a sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers. Okay, so a little bit of the subject on that episode, which I'm looking forward to diving deeper into in the book. She talks about the concept of hope as antipodal to fear, right? Like if you were to spectrum lay out our emotions like on a color wheel, right? You got blue on one side and orange on the other. Blue would be fear and orange would be hope, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe invert that if that's the way you know, chromatically prefer. So here's a clip about that. Here's a clip about that.
Stop playing.
All right, Alan. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Important distinction about two different kinds of hope. There's idle hope, which is the kind of hope that hypothetical person was just talking about. But then there's practical hope, where to her, hope becomes more of a syndrome than an emotion. It's an orientation towards the world, where hope, she says, is not only something that we need to will ourselves into feeling each and every day, but hope also becomes something that requires a, quote, reasonably concrete picture of what we want the future to look like. After all, how can you hope for a future if you don't have any clue of what it's going to look like? And the only way that happens, she says, is if you do as the Athenians didn't during the time of Socrates. You need to be engaging with the issues of your democracy in such a way that if someone like a Socrates came up to you and asked you to define what you think about some important issue, and then he questioned you on it, and then he asked you to explain yourself further, that you wouldn't be annoyed by someone coming up to you like that. In fact, you'd maybe be excited to talk about it because you'd be coming from a place where being a citizen of a democracy is an important piece of your identity. This is how the problems get solved and the way that we do things.
I loved that, right? Like it's so first of all, just the context of reframing our modern world around the time of like Plato's Republic or wait, hold on. Am I getting Plato and Aristotle confused? I mean, it's the same time period, right?
A little after, but yeah.
A little after. I mean, not much.
No, not much. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can I talk to you in the kitchen really quick?
Sure.
Who taught who?
Plato taught
Aristotle? Who is Plato?
Yeah, Plato, Aristotle. Yeah, I believe Plato was a teacher, right? I think.
Oh, one of them also taught.
Now I'm yeah.
What did Plato do? Plato taught Aristotle. Yeah.
Aristotle, right.
Yeah, and then somebody taught Alexander. Who taught Alexander?
Oh, it was
taught Alexander.
Because Philip brought him in. It was Aristotle, wasn't it?
Aristotle taught Alexander.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Everything I said was right. I should have had some confidence with it. Yes. So like framing it in the context of like Plato's Republic and the conflict between like, I mean, they were living in a time period very much like ours, right? Where like the term idiot, meaning someone who doesn't partake in the civic discourse, is the word we use for a dumb person now. And there's a reason for that. So lacking the ability to have practical knowledge and engagement in the world around them. You know, it's like today I get frustrated with people who are like, I get my news off social media. It's like, Jesus, man, like have fun having somebody else steering the ship. Like,
right. Yeah. Have
you
fun.
don't get anxious. Like I get anxious when the pilot's flying and that guy's good at it. It's like, you don't get anxious when the whole world and the way you're perceiving it is just fed to you. Like, so anyway, so going back to hope, like there's types of, there is, what's your favorite phrase here in regards to hope?
Hope is not a strategy.
But practical hope can be.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I don't know if I have much more to say about it, but I thought this was pretty profound. And I'm new. This is my first time being exposed to this philosopher.
Oh, I remember. I listened to the first episode he did about her, so I remembered a little.
Oh
bit.
Yeah, I guess I listened to that too. It was like episode 190.
That was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts, or are we just going to start talking about the
rats? No, I think that was pretty. Yeah, I think
I just burped in the mic.
You know what? Check listeners if that interests you. Obviously, check out.
Yes, you have time to listen to it. It's a 35-minute long podcast. It's called Philosophize This, episode 207. Chances are, once I read the book, I'm going to act like a nerd that's always been into that. So let's move on. I don't have a sound for the riots in the UK. Care you to talk about it here, sir, or would you like to save most of this for the Friday headlines show?
Oh, I think we can just do it here. It might be a little.
Let's do it briefly. I have a quick little rundown of it.
Yeah,
but if you'd rather talk about your version of it, which one would you prefer? Me to give a rundown?
Why don't you give a rundown and
Right.
I'll chime in. Yeah.
So I'm gonna act like it was my thoughts, but this is Mo's memes paraphrasing of it in a group chat. I did not ask if I could use his content, but I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So some poor Muslim did terrorism, and now the poor whites are roaming the streets looking to beat up Muslims. Now in this context, poor means low,
not financially. Well,
yes,
financially,
not
yes.
like, oh, this poor Muslim. No.
Right,
So some poor Muslim did terrorism, and now the poor whites are roaming the streets looking to beat up Muslims. Not exactly. A Rwandan Christian. So let me pause there because I'm reading somebody else's hot take and taking longer to do it than a hot take gets the impact from. So that's the way it's spread around the world, and it's going across memes of all this violence happening. I mean, I had a long time where I was like receiving the stories of this news, and I was like, God, like these upset white Christians in England seem to actually have a point based on what I'm seeing. And then I get a little bit more context to it, and I can see a little bit more of a wrinkle to it. But the way it got spread was that some poor Muslim did some terrorism, and then the poor whites are trying to beat up the Muslims. Not exactly. A Rwandan Christian, second generation immigrant who is a British citizen, happens to be autistic, killed 3 children at a Taylor Swift themed dance party with a knife and critically injured 5 more. Then all of these enlightened Anglos decided this would be a good time to deal with the Muslim problem. That's actually the way I see it. It's not going to be popular amongst a lot of our listeners. Alan, save me from this or tell me I'm right.
Well, so the way this was spun initially, as you said, was this was an immigrant. This is another part of the immigrant problem.
Second generation citizen.
Right. No, but I'm saying the way it was spun initially is that, this is part of the immigrant problem in the UK, that, that's the whole reason we did Brexit. I'm saying we as the UK. And that was all bullshit. It wasn't
Quite literally the royal we. If the royal we has to do with the queen, right?
There's this guy named Tommy something who is like
Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, who's like a crazy white nationalist for the UK, and he kind of drummed up this drumbeat and got people in the streets running around with bats,
burning down Holiday Inn Express because
burning down buildings
for staying there.
Well, so there were rumors that the government was housing immigrants in this hotel, and so they decided
they do give them quite a bit of deal, like their social safety net there is more elaborate than what we have here.
Yeah,
I can close this and stop. There's just no point in sharing that. Their social safety net provides like housing, and then they pack like 30 people into an apartment. Like I get people that get upset about that. Like I can understand there is an underlying thing to address that people would like to be addressed. I don't think that rioting in the street is going to be the way you do it, and it's led to people in the UK suggesting lockdowns like COVID.
Well, but what he was doing is tapping into that vein that does exist within UK culture.
Like we were just talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so post Brexit, a lot of data came out where a lot of these people who were so pro Brexit and anti immigrant, who voted for that to happen, which we now know and probably a lot of people predicted would be disastrous, lived in places where there was zero immigrant population. There was literally no impact on them, and yet they got riled up into this thing where they're like, the immigrants are taking our jobs. The immigrants are the reason I am not being more economically successful. The immigrants are the reason we have crime and violence in our communities, and none of that was true. But by tapping into that, they were able to create that movement and make that happen.
But to dismiss it offhand like that doesn't change the fact that the things I said are true. Like there are, these apartments that are being subsidized that are being packed with people that live there, and then they sublease it to them and make them pay the landlord. And it's this whole like black market ecosystem that comes up from that.
That is true, but that's not the reason that I wouldn't say that's the underlying reason of why people are burning down hotels.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't know how much more I want to talk about this, only because I feel like I lack a lot of firsthand experience. I tried to reach out to our UK listeners to give us more insight. Guys, if you're listening, you didn't see my story post about that, please tell me, your takes on it. But
I might have more about it in the headline show. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's something we could talk about more in the headline show.
Yeah.
I'm glad we dabbled in it. I didn't want to wait too long.
Yeah,
This has been going on for a long time. Like other group chats I'm in, I've been dealing with this for a while. I haven't yet found like a story to bring it up on our show to talk about it appropriately. And we're kind of shoehorning it in now. That's why I don't have a sound for it. We're just going to talk about it. So yeah, I agree. Let's talk about more in the headlines. I have an underreported story going on.
Okay.
This is some news. I believe even the headline on this is underreported. So there's not enough talking about like the partnership between Russia, China, and North Korea. And I saw this. It is a real news, no bullshit post. Maybe I was a little too busy during work this week. I did have a lot of work that kept me from being on my phone too much over the last 5 or 6 days. But Cody from Foxhole sent this to me in my DMs. And if it weren't for that, it would have been completely off my radar. So Eric Edelman, the vice chair of the National Defense Strategy Commission, told top Senate lawmakers on the Armed Services Committee this.
This is the most challenging global security environment since the Second World War. There is potential for near-term war and a potential that we might lose such a conflict. The partnership that's emerged among China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea is a major strategic shift that we have not completely accounted for in our defense planning. And it makes it more likely that a future conflict, for instance, in the Indo-Pacific, would expand across other theaters and that we would find ourselves in a global war.
Was that Harry Reid?
Where?
I can't believe Harry Reid's still around. Sorry.
War that is on the scale of the Second World War. The 2022 NDS identified China as the pacing challenge. We found that China is in many ways outpacing the US. While we still have the strongest military in the world with the farthest global reach, when we get to 1,000 miles of China's shore, we start to lose our military dominance and could find ourselves on the losing end of a conflict. China's cyber capabilities, space assets, growing strategic forces, and fully modernized conventional forces are designed to keep us from engaging in the Taiwan Strait or the South or East China Seas. China has been testified to before Congress, has infiltrated our critical infrastructure networks to prevent or deter U.S. action by contesting our logistics, disrupting American power and water, and otherwise removing the sanctuary of the homeland that we have long enjoyed. For its part, Russia has reconstituted its own defense industrial base after its invasion of Ukraine much more rapidly than people anticipated. Vladimir Putin seeks to reassert Russia as a great power and is happy to destabilize the world in order to do so. Our report describes the threats posed by Iran, North Korea, and terrorism as well. Clearly, Iran and North Korea both feel emboldened by the current environment, and terrorism remains a potent threat fueled by the proliferation of technology. As the DNI has said, the current war in the Middle East is likely to have a generational impact on terrorism. We share the goal, I think, as a commission unanimously of the NDS that our purpose is to deter war. But doing so is going to require moving with a greater sense of urgency and determination beyond what we've seen over the last couple of decades.
China is asshole.
I mean, I think we have talked about that on the show for the last year or so. Perhaps we didn't connect all those dots as sort of a block of countries doing that, but we know what China's up to. We know what Iran's up to. We know what Russia's up to. So, and we know that they're allies. So, yeah, I mean, he's just drawing the lines between them and saying, look, this is a problem. I think we already knew that. The concern, obviously, is if there is conflict, then you end up with another world war potentially.
We're already in a world war. I mean, we say this like the last few weeks. It's like,
sure,
Donald Trump is always like, if you elect me, you'll prevent World War III. It's like, we've been in World War III since 2014. Start recognizing that. Like why on earth would you insist? Like, our definitions are so they lack creativity, right? And they why on earth would you send a missile when I forget? Whenever Cody comes on here, he always talks about DIME and DIME all stand for something, and I forget. But there's like information, economic, and like the last thing you want to do is actually military hot war. And we've had economic and information warfare to try to like sow the battlefield for the last decade. Like, it's been going on since 2014. between elections to infrastructure hacks to just like spreading the divisiveness and discourse amongst different communities in the US. Like and why on earth would you get to the point where you start firing missiles there? That's not going to help you, especially if you want to use those resources and have those people be a consumption base. Like China would like to keep making electric vehicles and sending them to people that can buy them on streets that work and have functional, tax base that they can pay. So they want that, like they would like to beat us in ways that are non-military. And like, once you stop thinking about that, you realize we have been at war since 2014. It's been a world war. We are in a world war. It's happened. It's like, we're here. It
hasn't been.
And we're lucky that it hasn't been nuclear.
Well, it hasn't been kinetic for the most part. So but it's still war. It's just different type.
I think that lacks creativity. And I think that it's naive to act like this isn't a world war. We're in world war, like, and we're like, oh, but if Iran starts shooting at Israel, which we don't even have a clip for, because it's just, we'll talk about it when it finally happens. I feel like 5 days ago, Iran said within 72 hours they were going to like do something, and then it's like, I'm sure it's going to happen the second we stop recording. I'll check. Did we get an update from Atlas? Nope, no Atlas updates yet.
Did you see that they're saying they foiled a plot by some Pakistani national to assassinate Trump?
No.
They found out pretty quickly, so they had like
what are the Pakis upset with Trump about?
I don't think it's national actor, but they had like undercovers go in, and he was like offering to pay them $5,000 or something to assassinate Trump.
Okay. I honestly feel bad for that guy. I feel like that guy got played just based off the dollar amount and like yeah. All right, well, sticking with China, let's do a little bit of a Peter Zion clip talking about China.
Hey everybody, Peter Zion here, coming to you from Lost Valley in Colorado.
I've been to Lost Valley. I've walked through there with my dad. We used to, it's outside Denver.
Colorado, just above Denver. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of Chinese censorship and the general downward spiral the Chinese find themselves in. I kind of watch what the Chinese are banning, because it gives you an idea of what Xi Jinping and the CCP in China are nervous about. And there are a couple new terms that have popped up that are on the ban list that I think are worth talking about, because it puts a few things into context. The first is the term garbage time. And for those of you out there who are sports enthusiasts, have of course heard about garbage time. The idea is that near the end of the game, the last few minutes, one team is so far ahead, it's simply impossible for the underdog to catch up. But they still...
Is he implying that in China, the American, or at least Western pig dog like slang has made its way into the Chinese discourse?
It seems like that's what he's implying.
Have to go through the motions before they officially lose. For those of you who blend your sports metaphors with geopolitics, this is a term that popped up in the 2000s, the 1990s, when people were talking about the Soviet fall. Hey, everybody.
He talks about that. I'm not going to play the whole clip. He talks about that. He talks about lay flat, that whole, like everything's so fucked in China.
Right. It's a protest movement without,
it's like, why would I have to try to do anything? So do as little as you can and just get by. So his point of this video is that there's keywords that are being censored that showed up on the block list, and it's garbage time and lay flat. And then he goes into more conversation about demographics, which is really his forte. And he's talking about how, before demographics, he talks about how since 2019, China has only had 5% GDP growth, and anybody
only 5%.
Well, hold on though. Anybody who analyzes China's GDP growth assumes that there's a padded 5% on their reported GDP.
Right.
So if they're reporting 5%, that's flat. That's zero.
Right. It's really not growing at all. Yeah.
And that coupled with, and so if you take that same, like, okay, here's what China says, but here's what reality probably is, and you start looking at demographics, China has admitted that they have the same amount of people that are over like 65 as they do people that are under 25. And if you look at that honestly, that means they probably have even less people that are under 25 than there are over 65, which, like, so when you see people like me, they're like, ha ha ha, China, LOL, like, I'm a little concerned because that moves all their timelines closer. If they're losing their demographics, there will be incredible famine in China. There will be a complete lack of like economic output, and that's going to affect the rest of the globe. It's funny that China is the one that wants to disrupt like global commerce when we're the ones that are going to have to not buy things from China when their entire population collapses. And the people that are going to collapse are going to it's going to be people over 60 that are dying of lack of malnutrition. Like there won't be any young people. They haven't made any.
Yeah, it's a pretty grim situation if you actually look at the numbers.
Especially if you actually say like, here's what they're actually telling you, and we know they lie, so it's worse than that.
Sure.
But hey, why talk about China's economy? We have bad economy at home. No need to play clips about it, Alan. I don't have anything funny. Let's take a little recap about what's been happening in our own economy since last Thursday. Should I read Mo's take again, or do you want to give a little rundown?
I mean, so we had a pretty bad day in the markets on Monday. Pretty bad day. So significant
2%, something like 2%, right?
I think it was more than that, but significant sell-offs on everywhere in the markets.
It wasn't like the 12% drop when COVID hit.
No, but it was significant, and a lot hit the tech sector. The jobs report, the unemployment report, all came out worse than expected. People are concerned that we could potentially be in another recession because the Fed held rates too high too long. I think that's a little bit overblown. As I've said many times in this show, and I'll say it again, the market is not the economy, and the economy is not the market.
Yep.
Trump likes to point at the market as if, that's some big accomplishment. But for the average person, most of Americans have very little stake in the market. There's a relatively small percentage that have a major stake in the markets. So I think what's more important is, the price.
Everybody was expecting those rate cuts to hit now. And they said, no, we're going to wait till September.
Wait another month. Yeah. So now people are speculating that perhaps instead of a quarter, you might get 0.5%. I think this is a little bit overblown.
Yesterday I was like, this gives me 2008 vibes. Washington Mutual is going to collapse. Like, and then today I feel a little bit more like this is a correction, right? Like the stock market was like super fucking high, high, which means it had a long fall. Like if you think about this in like Dustin's Afraid of Turbulence terms, this is turbulence, not a nosedive. This is, we're at 40,000 feet. You can lose a little bit of altitude. Nothing's happening to the plane.
Right. Also,
the plane's made out of fucking cards. This is a house of cards, and we all know it. And it's all backed by nothing. And they print money whenever they feel like it. And they don't actually use interest rates to reflect the value of money. They use interest rates as a tool to drive stimulus and consumption. And as long as they do that, they're going to keep causing these fluctuations in the real market, which is not the stock market. You're right. It's not the stock market. But when interest rates are supposed to be a reflection of the value of borrowing money. In shorthand, interest rates are a reflection of what money should cost. And if you use that instead to say, if we drop interest rates, maybe people will spend more money. That way we won't have a recession. That isn't a reflection of what interest rates actually are. And then you get these weird augmentations of the market because people go, oh, money, it doesn't cost as much. Let's take giant loans. We'll build this big factory to build what we perceive the best widget to be. We'll take all of these inputs, resources, and dedicate them towards that. And that's a huge 20-year project. 20 years later, you're like, turns out we didn't need to sink all that money and capital and time and resources into that. Now our economy is really fucked up, and we've just been doing that for 40 years plus, right? So like the way they treat interest rates causes this problem. That said, they probably should have cut interest rates last week, and they didn't. And now people are like, well, if they're not cutting them, I guess I better take my victories while I can, sell everything I can. The Japanese central bank raised rates by 0.25%. There's some interaction between the Japanese rates and the US economy, and because of that and bonds, people sold things, and that led to a sell-off. I know that's not the answer for everything, but that has an answer to do with a lot of it. And then fear on top of it, right? I mean, it occurred to me over the weekend. All this stuff went bad Friday and Saturday, and I hodled. And then over the weekend, I was like, maybe I should just sodal. And then, you know what? A lot of people sodaled on Monday, over the weekend. And big surprise, there was a bunch of sells on Monday, right? So you had a horrible day Monday, and then corrected a little bit, not that much, but I've been talking.
Okay. All right. All right. So the Japanese thing. All right. So Japanese currency's value went down. Now, if you are an investor who leverages debt to invest, you have to maintain a certain debt to cash ratio. And if your cash is worth less than it was yesterday, then now you have to sell off some of your equity
In order to get
that
cash.
to get that number right, the ratio right. So there's that. There's also the time of the year, summer. We often have
going to the job numbers, right?
well, I'm talking about the market specifically, but job numbers too. But we often have sell-offs during the summer. There's typically less trading volume in the summer, so there's less people active in the markets. Third thing is volatility. Once there begins to be a sell-off, it's sort of like a bank run. These things gain steam like a
Right.
snowball.
Like I
going
was
down.
talking about how I felt
Right.
every week, and I was like, no,
And
don't sold.
also, a lot of these major traders use AI algorithms to trade. And so there are circuit breakers within the market, and I didn't have time to check if any of those were tripped yesterday. I imagine some were, but there are circuit breakers within the market to sort of stop that and be like, hey guys, take a breath and let's see where we're
It's
actually
just
at.
worth talking about because people kept saying like City's down, Fidelity's down, all these like platforms are down, Robinhood. And then every time I saw one of those posts, I went to those sites and I was like, oh, look, they're open. So it obviously was like a brief thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, so, it feeds into that fear like you're talking about. And so then maybe you have some retail investors who are like, ah, fuck, I got to get out. Honestly, if I had extra capital laying around, I would say buy the dip. I don't.
Right? Yeah.
I don't, but if I did, that's what I would do. So I really do think this is overblown. I'm sure Trump will try to, blame it on Biden and Kamala. But
Do not get me wrong. I don't think that. I think that the global economy is built on a bunch of lies right now, and we don't have any like backing to our currency. And you have a lot of like I'm so tempted to get into a niche conversation about fiat currency and Austrian economics, and I'm not gonna. But like I do not mishear me. I don't think, hey, this is definitely the way to make money work. No, but this is what we mean. And there's this whole thing about. I mean, let's go back a bit, right? We talk about this all the time. People get confused all the time about like, well, I can't buy anything and it's because of interest rates. Well, interest rates were because the money printer went on. The interest rates were the right thing to do because the money printer devalued currency. So inflation went up. And when inflation goes up, you have to say money is more valuable. So you have to have a higher cost to borrow it, which means prices will go up. I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll start throttling down the inflation, right?
Mm-hmm.
People don't know any of that. Just go, well, it's harder to fucking live. And I blame it on whatever the thing is people are talking about, which is inflation or which is interest rates, whichever one. My mortgage that I wanted was a higher rate. Therefore, it was the interest rates was the problem, right? Or my credit card that I want is higher now. So like it's interest rates. No, the interest rates are a reflection of the inflation. The inflation was the stimulus to try to get out of COVID. And the whole reason that our economy even existed in 2021 was because thank God COVID hit. Otherwise, this was all happening in 2020 anyways. Like in 2019, Trump was arguing online on Twitter with Jerome Powell. Because Jerome Powell was like, we need to start raising interest rates. We are facing bad economic conditions. Like money should not be cheap anymore. We've had free money with low interest rates for over a decade after the 2008. And people were like, no, we like having low interest rates. It stimulates the economy. It overheated the economy. They needed to raise rates in 2019. Jerome Powell backed down to Trump yelling at him. COVID hit. We had to print money anyways and drop rates. Printing the money caused the stimulus, but also causes the inflation. Dropping rates continued to overheat the economy. Once things started moving again, inflation hit, raise rates, things cost more. This is a cycle. Like that's how that works. It doesn't give the average person any sympathy towards the people in charge. And you say, fuck the person in charge right now. Let's put the other guy in. Except the other guy was Trump, who argued when he tried to raise the rates to mitigate this in the first place in 2019.
I don't think anybody should be taking economic policy from Trump, but
you should be listening to them taking though.
You should, yes.
Okay. All right. Hey, what do you think Trump would be doing right now? I for what, I already answered that question with my rant. I, for one, right now, of all of the things that I could possibly say good about the Joe Biden administration, the long list, Alan. I appreciate that they are not badgering the Federal Reserve, which is not supposed to be a part of the government, right? And the Federal Reserve is not supposed to react to the stock market. It's supposed to react to the actual economy.
The economy, yes.
Right. So under Trump, we would be getting tweets from Trump saying, you guys better lower rates right now. I demand that, right? And we're not hearing any of that messaging. And I'm grateful for that. Like, that's the type of presidency I would prefer. I mean, because like the counterfactual of that is hopefully this president knows anything about what he's talking about, which wait until we make fun of Trump in the second half. We got a clip about him not understanding Bitcoin. But
I would posit that a number of politicians, a large number, don't understand Bitcoin. So he's not alone.
Nancy Pelosi, right?
Sure.
God damn it. The breaking news, it's not there anymore. I had a video of Kamala Harris walking upstairs and answering questions and turning her head at the same time.
It's impressive.
I know, right? It's been years since I've seen somebody as the acting president, which apparently she is, right?
She's
Look
not
at
the
her.
acting.
Look at her walk upstairs, turn to people and answer questions and not fall down.
It's a low bar.
Michael Barbaro. All right. Well, okay. The real breaking news. The lady president picked her male vice president, Alan.
Yeah, Tim Walz.
We found a potential white male second in command. So everything's going to be fine because it's a white dude, right? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so there's a lot of controversy. We've talked about it here over the last few weeks, whether it's going to be white astronaut man from Arizona, white Jewish guy from Pennsylvania. What else do we have stereotype wise? What was the other one going to be?
Bashir had kind of fallen out. I think it was really between those three at this point.
What was the third one?
Oh, him, Walz.
Oh, right. Yeah, Minnesotan.
Speaking it into existence, Governor Walz for vice president.
These are weird people on the other side. They want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. I've got a 23-year-old who told me TikTok is on fire. Go ahead and continue to denigrate people. Go ahead. My God, they went after cat people. Good luck with that. Turn on the internet and see what cat people do when you go after them.
Don't fuck with cats.
It'd be funny if it wasn't so sad. They see the least fortunate among us as scapegoats and punchlines for them. Kamala Harris and Democrats see them as our neighbor. You know, get sugarcoating this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen how they talk about things. Told them that they shouldn't talk about race. They can't help it. It is built into their DNA because
that was the rant that really got him, right?
There is no plan. There's no healthcare plan. There's no healthcare plan. There's nothing to do on this. They want to take away our alliances and leave Russia to do whatever they want. The minute they all step on the stage,
I really don't want to have to hear the Cranberries behind him.
American people have lost. Are they going to debate who can ban the most books? The same old failed policies. Instead of putting out a memo like that,
I'm actually done. I don't want to. Like,
I was going to say that's gone long enough. Yes.
Music going on in the background. I'm fucking thrilled, man. Like, I really am thrilled. He's a normal fucking person. Like, the best they can say is he's too progressive. I've heard them call him Diet Bernie. It's like, oh boy. That is not the insult that you think it is, sir. Like you misunderstand the percentage of the population in the middle that resents the fact that we didn't get a Bernie Sanders at least opportunity to be president, even opportunity, right?
Yeah,
like calling him Diet Bernie. Yo, no, not a Bernie that'll be appeal to more people than Bernie. Like, oh God, no, scary. So Bernie, but less extreme. Oh, you got him there. Keep pushing that in terms of messaging. That's working.
I think he was the right choice. He has a very he's just very comfortable in his own skin. And I think that sometimes Kamala has some nervous energy that she can be sort of awkward, and he kind of offsets that very well. He just kind of has that.
He can go hard with the messaging.
Yeah.
Where when she does it, there's veiled sexist reasons, but also real reasons. Like, it's just not appealing when she does it, right? Like, it doesn't connect with voters for whatever reason you want to go with.
I like his background. You know, he was a teacher. He was a principal for many.
Wait. Can I play a clip about that? It's a very short clip from Buzz Burbank talking about that. Hold on. Okay. You said he was a teacher?
Yes.
Veteran.
Yeah.
He was a teacher. He taught in remote parts of the world like China and Nebraska.
China.
Nebraska.
remote
China and
parts of the
Nebraska.
world like China and Nebraska.
No, I think that is, and you can sort of tell that he's just comfortable around people. He's not very. It's funny. So
He was in the army, right?
yes, he was. Yeah, yeah. So when they went to vet him, one of the first things that he said was, "Look, guys, I just want to get this out there. I've never used a teleprompter in my life, so
Whoa.
if I'm the pick, you're gonna have to teach me how to do that because I don't use teleprompters." for
Dude,
my
that's so
speeches."
relatable.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
no,
some
I-
Bill Clinton energy. Remember that story
Yeah.
about like one of the State of the Unions, the teleprompter was upside down, so
Yeah.
Clinton had to like just do it
Just
off
wing
memory.
it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've listened to, as he became more and more prominent. I've listened to him on a number of podcasts. I've read stuff, quotes from him. I've watched him on various newscasts. He's very comfortable. He obviously has a little bit of a Midwestern appeal, which I think can help her win some of those sort of purple states. You know, like your.
Oh, I think Ohio's even on the table.
I was going to say Ohio. Yeah. So no, I think he was a good pick. I think it makes a lot of sense. And even like their chemistry, I only saw a few clips from it. I didn't get to watch the whole.
I've got 2 clips. You'll see more of it. I've
Okay.
got 2 clips from
So-
you're talking about today's.
Yeah, they had their first rally in
in
Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania, in
Philadelphia, yeah.
Philly, in the
Yeah, yeah.
state of the guy she did not pick, Josh Shapiro.
Right. But Shapiro did come out and kind of headlined.
He's
you know,
gay?
no, Shapiro, I think, was the speaker right before they took the stage. So, and Shapiro was just like, I'm all in here. You know, I'm going to be campaigning for this ticket. So it's not like they entirely lost Shapiro as perhaps a surrogate to help them win
He's
Pennsylvania.
got a job in the administration. They'll give him the transportation secretary job when they move Buttigieg up to Sec State or something.
Anyways, all that being said, I think it was a good choice.
Talk about weird.
So I believe he was one of the first people to bring up that whole weird thing, and then everybody else kind of ran with it. But he did it in a way that wasn't. It didn't seem like he was trying to create a meme or anything. He was just like, "Look, these guys are fucking weird, man."
He comes across at least as a sincere and genuine
Yeah.
person, which Shapiro does not. Shapiro is an effective messenger, but he's a douchey slicky boy.
Well, and I think even if you compare him to Vance, I mean, it's just light years of difference, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. Trump was like, I'm going to get somebody who talks to middle America. Let's get this Yale guy.
Right. I definitely think that he appeals to part of that base that Vance is, not going to. So yeah, all those points being covered, I just, good choice.
So I set you up with weird because I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So like you said, he is the genesis of the weird meme, which has effectively been packaged in the Democratic messaging. I try to avoid it because I don't want to sound like a Democrat messenger, but it's been, I mean, there's times where I'm like, well, did you see a video of Trump and you're like, God, he just looks weird. Like
yeah,
that Aiden Ross guy that I was talking about earlier. He gifted Trump a Tesla and he did like a TikTok dance in front of it. And I was like, okay, you look weird. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't want to fall in line, but like, there is not a better word than weird. Like, you people are fucking weird. Like, so I want to talk about that. So weird and brat are energies that MAGA cannot counter in 2024. And I have a theory that I'm going to struggle. I think I'm going to struggle. I worry that I'm going to struggle to communicate this. I might need you to kind of reel me back in if I feel lost. I feel like you're going to kind of get the outline of what I'm going for here. So if at any point you feel like you need to help me, just jump in. It's hard. It's sort of nebulous. I'm going to do my best. But weird and brat energies are something that MAGA cannot counter in 2024. And it's like an inverse of what took place in 2016. So think about the 2016 election. Think about how largely the 2016 election for Trump was able to harness sort of like the broad strokes. Like if some of you half identify with this, just come on, you're here. It's a safe place. MAGA, I tapped in on like that incel energy, but on the right. And it was sort of like angry dudes. It wasn't everyone, but largely they could like make fun of Hillary in ways that would cause the Hillary people to be like, ree, And like, you know, the Hillary people were just like stuffy old white ladies being like, that's inappropriate. How did like a librarian yelling at you, right? And it would just cause the incel energy to be like, ha ha ha, keck, right? Like, you know, right?
Yeah.
So like, and like, there was nothing that old Democrat energy could do to effectively counter that. And anything they did do just fed into it more to be like, you're doing exactly what we call you as. And it made Hillary and like those Democrats look stuffy and uptight and like whiny losers. And if you're a emotions-based voter, you would swing more towards that doesn't like know anything about the issues, but like which one of these people are winners. One of those people looked cool. And even if it was annoying and you know, catchphrase at the time, toxic masculinity, like it didn't matter. Like you can't identify with those people, even if you didn't really like the other side. You're like, well, I don't want to be like these Hillary cucks, right? Like, do you follow me? Do you follow me?
I do.
Weird and Brat is causing that response to the right now, and they can't fucking handle it. And the only way that they can respond to it makes them look absurd, because there's this population of, you know, kind of like that screenplay we read at the beginning, these lady bosses and their surrogates that are like, yeah, in fact, that is me. So you can go fuck yourself. You guys are a bunch of like, now it's been flipped. They can be like, you are literally incels right now. And you look like cowards and losers. And me calling you a weirdo shouldn't get you this bent out of shape. You know, us being Brat shouldn't make you be so out of touch to be able to like see someone act like this. Like, you look weird, and they just respond weirdly, and it feeds back into it. There is no appropriate response from the right to this type of energy in the same way that the left couldn't respond to the right's energy in 2016. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. And I also would add that this is very much, I mean, what was it now? Like 2 weeks ago when Biden said he wasn't going to run. The Biden campaign similarly could never have had this sort of momentum, this sort of
but this is what we were supposed to have. Like, from the second that Trump walked out on the stage talking about his zero-sum bullshit, winners and losers instead of like win-win type shit, there should have been someone who could effectively message against that. And said they put stuffy ass Hillary and old man Biden, and we went through 8 years of that. And it's like, no, we just woke up to the fact that there was an obvious answer to this. If you just get your head out of your ass, be like, no, that should not be the way you look at the world.
Yeah, no,
I ran out of steam. I know you thought it there.
I don't really think I have any notes on that. But I think if you look at the transition between when Biden, prior to Biden stepping down, and then Kamala, you know, stepping up, is just so night and day. And it's like, oh, we can do this. We actually, you know, we can actually be in touch with like our constituents, especially the younger crowd. We have the ability to do that, and it was there the whole time. But with Biden at the top of the ticket, there was just no access to that. And so I think
access is the right word.
I think that's a huge thing that I'm just very glad that he did what he did.
Yeah, I am too. Let's play a couple of clips from the Harris Walz event this evening. There's late additions to the show sheet. This is Tim Walz with a timely, humorous.
J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is.
Dude, I cannot wait for them to impeach Kamala Harris and have this guy be president. Like, like this guy is so likable.
And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
See how big his mouth gets while he talks? How many hot dogs do you think it can fit in that mouth?
Quite a few.
At least 2 hot dogs at a time, right? Toppings and all. You guys see the data. Big applause. Big applause. Can't wait for the debate tonight. He said he would. Clarence said he'd debate him.
That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So,
Nice. Sick burn. By the way, I could not hear anything you were saying while that clip was playing because the clip was too loud. So I don't know what you said during that clip.
Did I share it?
You did. No, I could hear the clip. It was just the cheering
Just
was so
loud?
loud. It was way louder than you. So it was just that's what I heard.
I was just the photos of
Yeah.
Here's another clip from today's rally. I really hope rallies don't continue to be a part of our politics. I will say that. Oh, that's the same clip twice. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Yeah. Okay. He said that. Well, I'll paraphrase it. You can imagine with his charm. He said, over the last 4 years, violent crime is down, and that includes Donald Trump's crimes.
I did see that clip.
Pretty clever. Pretty clever.
Pretty good.
From the windows to the walls.
Mm.
Here is a little bit more highlights on him, just to get to know the guy.
People like J.D. Vance know nothing about small town America. My town had 400 people in it, 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 were cousins, and he gets it all wrong. It's not about hate. It's not about collapsing in. Golden rule there is mind your own damn business.
This is what I was talking about, how like this should have been the style of messaging to counteract Trump, like from day one, from 2016. Instead, they were like Hillary, and she's just not equipped to do that. She's a 1990s politician.
Right.
Their policies are what destroyed rural America. They've divided us. They're in our exam rooms. They're telling us what books to read. And I think what Kamala Harris knows is bringing people together around the shared values, strong public schools, strong labor unions that create the middle class, healthcare that's affordable and accessible. Those are the things. You look what they're talking about. They went right to division. They did not give us a plan on healthcare. Donald Trump talked about infrastructure. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris built bridges, built roads. So I think this is going back to the bread and butter, getting away from this division. We do not like what has happened where we can't even go to Thanksgiving dinner with our uncle because you end up in some weird fight that is unnecessary. and I think bringing back people together, well, it's true.
I mean, if you're telling me that Kamala's running mate is promising a return to being able to have civil discourse with our population, I mean, that's a dream come true. Like fuck hope and change and all that shit. Like if you could promise that, or if your intention as a candidate is to achieve that, I will vote for you 100 times before I'll vote for a Donald Trump. Like
I saw him interviewed.
He's literally the polar opposite of Trump. It's what I've been asking for.
Yeah, I saw him interviewed on a podcast, and he said, look, I'm never going to insult people who are Trump voters because some of those people are in my family.
Right.
He's like, I understand them. I understand their grievances.
That was the first thing I did after 2016 is like find as many Trump voters as I could, try to understand them as best I could.
Yeah.
So it makes me weird. They mostly insult me, but I'm like, all right, I'll take this, Kevin.
No, I really love his take on stuff. He even the interviewer asked him, I'm trying to remember exactly, but essentially he has this thing where he's like, let's get stuff done. Like I'm not going to try and like spread this out so I can run on it as an issue next election. Let's get stuff done and move on. And it's like a lot of times politicians,
instead of Trump saying like, don't fix the border now, do it while I'm president.
Exactly. The polar opposite to that. So yeah, I mean, so he will be attacked because of the
too progressive.
Yeah, that'll be
one. What were you going to say?
The 2020 riots in Minneapolis. He will be. I've already seen him be attacked for that. So he will be attacked for that. So even trying to. I don't think he's super.
I don't think
lefty.
that's going to lose him votes on the left.
Right, but so Kamala tried to tack left in the 2020 election, and I think part of the reason
attack like sailing
yes,
yeah,
tried to tack left in the.
She couldn't. She's a fucking cop.
Well, what I was going to say is I think part of the reason that didn't work for her is because that's really not who she is. She is very moderate. She's more centrist. I think he is similarly pretty centrist. He does things like, the whole school lunch thing that he did.
No, Alan, he's a communist.
The whole school lunch thing he did in his state, people are going to say that's super progressive. Super
Talk about
liberal.
that. I don't know. Talk about that. People don't know what you're talking about.
So he instituted a school lunch,
Free school lunches.
free school lunch for everybody, and he didn't means test it. And I've talked about means testing on the show before, but oftentimes means testing costs more than the savings are worth. And also, just we have the resources to do this. Every kid should have access to food. Why
You can always find ways to hedge out of it later, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
keep
and
the
I mean,
food on the table.
yes, and we know that
What a horrible mistake to make. Oh my God. You made sure
we're
kids
feeding
can-
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, or if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you want your kids to be fed.
Right.
And so I think things like that, which were just like, yeah, this should be a no-brainer. This should just be across this country.
So when you start looking at how they're going to attack him, like you're talking about, Republicans love to either attack Democrats as being one of two things. There's like two lanes they go to. They're knee jerks. They either call them flip floppers like John Kerry or extremists like Bernie Sanders, right? But it's really hard to attack them as both. And with Kamala at the top of the ticket and this guy as the vice president, I don't know what they're going to do. I did see that Trump attempted to go after them mostly as extremists. I doubt they'll hold to one thing. They lack discipline. So
also, I don't think it'll work.
No, I don't think it's going to be effective either. Especially when who are you really sending that message to? The people that are independents, right? And the people that are independents are going to be attracted to the things that actually affect everyday people, which are people who are benefiting from the things that they're doing, right? Like if you don't have time to pay attention to the news, but this guy is saying, I'm going to make sure your kids can eat at school. Yeah, he's a socialist. Well, it turns out I'm a socialist in some ways, right? Like I've said that before. Longtime listeners have probably heard you stumble through this before. I'm a socialist in my neighborhood. I'm a Democrat in my city. I'm a Republican at my state. And I'm apparently a fascist at the national level. I don't know. You get what I mean? Like the closer you get to your nexus, the more you are community organized, right? Or oriented. But you call Kamala a flip flopper and him an extremist. Good luck. Good luck coming up with the messaging campaign for that. And I think that's brilliant. Like, and just speaking of messaging, how on earth? This is a bit of a tangent, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget to say this. And I've had this thought for a few weeks. How on earth are Democrats anti-family when they're the party of the child tax credit, healthcare, school lunches? Like, does that sound anti-family? Like, how that was JD Vance's thing for the last few weeks?
Yes.
So who paid for JD Vance? Peter Thiel. How many kids does gay ass Peter Thiel have?
Yeah, it is an odd odd accusation.
Peter
to make,
Thiel's
given
over
the
here
fact-
pulling the strings of the party of family. Like, I mean, I guess he could, Angelina Jolie adopt all the kids he wants, but like, and there's amazing. Maybe he'll come up with some medical breakthroughs that allow him to, appropriately inseminate his partner. I don't judge. I hope he can. So speaking of running mates, a running mate, as Alan kind of hinted at a little bit ago, is supposed to balance out your ticket, right? Not be your mini me.
Yes.
Speaking of which, let's check in on Donald Trump's surrogate.
It's not up.
It's not sharing? Oh,
No.
sorry. This is from the Reason Roundtable talking about the selection of JD Vance.
Other sources. Basically,
this is from a conservative outlet.
Trump was all set to pick Doug Burgum, and Don Jr. went into a cocaine rage and went storming into his office and said, "Are you effing crazy this, effing crazy that? He does nothing for us. You got to go with Vance." Elon Musk dangled the prospect of giving a lot of money if it was Vance. We don't know if it was like straight up transactional or anything like that, but like there are inferences one can make. And Tucker Carlson called him up and said, you got to pick Vance. And by the way, you can't pick Marco Rubio because he's a neocon, and neocons want to get us into nuclear war. And if you pick Rubio, that will give the intelligence services all the incentive they need to have you assassinated so they can make him president. So this does not suggest a careful vetting process where they did things like listen to his podcast appearances and said, would this be a problem?
Vance's podcast appearances.
Yeah, Vance's podcast appearances. Maybe they should have listened to his audiobook too. I don't know.
Oh, hold on. I'm trying, Alan. I appreciate it.
Boys who got good grades were sissies or faggots.
I mean, it's one book, right? Like,
it's not. It didn't take. You can have a staffer listen to that. Just get some highlights. Maybe show that to the team. Yeah,
sir. I don't know if sissies part of the fagatola. Wait, no, that's not the word. Fagatoga.
Sissies. Yeah.
Let's not spend too much time on this.
Fagatoga.
That was the word.
Yeah, yeah.
I said Fagatola, like the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. I think I've said it enough that James is gonna have some fun with that.
Perhaps.
God damn it. Where are we at? Yeah. Well, so Trump's running mate's not bringing anyone else to the table. Meanwhile, all of a sudden the Bernie voters are being brought on by Walz, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I'm wondering if there's any possibility that Trump might replace Vance, because that would be really funny.
It's too late. It's
I
too
know.
late.
I
And
think so too.
wait, tell me all of the times Trump's admitted he was wrong.
Oh.
I mean, we can go to half right now. I mean,
Yeah.
in fact, maybe we should. Where are we at?
I was gonna say we probably should.
Okay. The right is struggling with attacking Harris. Yeah, this is all subtle. Do you want to talk about polling really quick, and then I'll ask you a question? So there was some polling data I was going to play, but it's as of Friday. I think the updates that are worth knowing doesn't even involve the. You're supposed to get a bump when you pick your vice president, right?
Mhm. Yes, that's the whole.
And I think Trump got like a -12 bounce down.
It
picking
wasn't
his vice president.
Yeah.
So, but prior to announcing Walz, Kamala had. I didn't say it right, did I? Kamala, you know what? Harris. I
There
can't
you go.
fuck that up. We're supposed to say it by the last name anyways, right? We're not like so
Harris
Barack.
v. Trump. Yeah.
Yeah. So Harris is leading independents 42-37. That's huge. A 5-point swing on a race that's going to be decided by that demographic is fucking huge.
It's massive. Yeah.
So 42-37 with independents. Under 35 votes, she leads 39-40.
49-40.
What did I say?
39.
Well, 49, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll move this stuff to the second half. Can I ask you a question that's not related to anything?
Sure.
Okay. Not second half. I'm going to move this to the Friday show.
Okay.
Little hidden track substance.
Cool.
I got an old people question for you.
Do tell.
First of all, do you remember T9 text?
Yes, of course. I was talking about it for some reason the other day, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell all these kids that listen to the show what T9 text is?
It was like predictive text, but when you would type with the keyboard, like 1 would be
Keypad,
ABC.
1 through 9 keypad.
Yeah, and so you would, if you want to type B, you would hit 1 twice. And then
Well, no,
you
that
would-
was before predictive.
Oh,
text.
right. T9 was the predictive one.
T9 could tell if you went 1, 6, 6, I think 5, you were trying to spell cool.
Yeah, it would pick out what the potential letters were. It was almost like a small language learning model.
Right. Like it was like in this context, you
Predictive,
were probably
yeah.
saying this, right? Like, except that example I just gave you was one that came up all the time. I'm asking you this because to this day, if I text someone, okay, cool, in my head, every time, because for the first 5 years I ever texted anybody, it was on that input, right?
Yeah.
I had to check if it spelled cool or book. Do you remember okay, book?
Of course.
You would text someone and be like, okay, book. And you're like, okay, book. And text costs like 10 cents at the time. You'd have to be like, not book, cool. Do you actually remember okay, book?
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
so-
all the swear words, it was always saying duck when it's clearly not what you meant.
Yeah, that went well into the actual texting phenomenon.
Yeah.
All right. I'm supposed to press this a little bit early so that we can have the record drop. This is a needle recording I actually did on my turntable out in the living room. Alan, see you with a couple of beers.
This is the B-side of our platter, sports fans. And I'm singing just for you, covered in sequins.
In the canyons of your mind, I will wander through your brain to the ventricles of your heart, my dear. I'm in love with you again. Cross the mountains of your chest, I will stick a Union Jack to the forest of your cheek, through the holes in your string bag.
Sorry, normally I don't try to eat in the second half, but Natasha made curry, and come on, man, I can't
nice.
not eat it, you know.
Dude, I made a sandwich and scarfed it real quick. I was hungry.
Did you? And that whole time?
Yeah.
Aw. What are we doing?
Show.
Hey, do you remember the meme, what's Obama's last name?
Yeah, kind of.
There was like the meme where it's like, what's Obama's last name? And you're like, oh, fuck, I don't know. Right?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
The more you think about it, the less funny it becomes. But
yeah,
as a knee jerk, it's a good meme. It reminds me of what I was saying earlier, how we call Harris Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, what's Kamala's last name? Wait, it is Kamala. Damn it, you got me.
Wait, no. Her last name is Harris.
So, what are the Mario brothers' last name?
Oh, well, if they're the Mario brothers, it would be Mario, right?
It's me, Mario.
Yeah.
So are they
That's
brothers named after the first player character or not? Like, this is really bothering me that I just thought about this halfway through this week.
I had never considered that.
I know. You sent me that whole Mario Brothers thing. It was epic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was like, I watched that. I was like, hold on. What are their last names?
So it's Luigi Mario then would be his
It was Mario.
That's weird.
Like Malkovich. Remember that in Being John Malkovich when everybody says Malkovich in the Malkovich world?
Right.
That's a good movie.
It was a good movie.
What do you say we get into the best of the Trump cult?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start off with a it's really too bad that he's the old guy in the race right now, because being the old guy without a counterbalance just makes him look bad. And here he is not being able to talk and stuttering.
Should not stop. She said she was endorsing to fund the place and the police, and she said violent mobs, let the violent mobs keep going. Let them should not stop. She said she was endorsing to fund the place and the police, and she said violent mobs, let the violent mobs keep going.
Violent
Marbs.
Violent Marbs.
Violent Marbs.
Don't forget to defund the place.
Defund the place.
Yeah.
You know what? He's on a teleprompter. Give him some slack, dude. You know, amazing. His eyes are good. Trump says he's for. Oh, this is a good one. This is. I got a couple of clips that are just like, dude, you're just a fucking grifter, and it's so much more obvious now that there's someone like Walz in the race. Like, I'm so jaded and used to being like, fuck these politicians. Like, I'm not saying he's a fucking savior. Don't get me wrong, right? But I'm so jaded and used to these like just vapid. I think Alan says vapid politicians, and they're all grifters. They're all trying to get their inside stock trading, and
sure,
they just say what it takes to Andy Ogles their way into an election. Culture warrior bullshit. And to see someone who talks about like positivity and us like finding a way to like, just like you said, get things done in a good way and move on to the next problem and solve it, not dwell on the problem, because that happens to serve me politically. So as long as we can exacerbate that problem, the better it is for me politically. So let's just make everyone hate each other over something, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That was in the context of, I don't know. Oh, that's right. So we're lucky he's just kind of an obvious grifter. So here's one example of him. Just electric cars. I've got another one about crypto.
She wants to get rid of gas-powered cars and replace them with all electric. They don't go far. They cost too much. They're all made in China. Other than that, they're fantastic. And I'm for electric cars. I have to be, because Elon endorsed me very strongly, Elon. So
I mean, he's not even trying to hide it.
I have to be because Elon endorsed me.
It's the same thing you did with TikTok.
Because Elon endorsed.
So, right. Yeah, it's exactly like what happened with TikTok.
They're all made in China. Other than that, they're fantastic. And I'm for electric cars. I have to be, because Elon endorsed me very strongly, Elon. So I have no choice.
How does that not make you, like, for someone who's so concerned about their image, how are you being like, I'm a whore?
But he knows. No, I am for him. I'm for him for a small slice is a slice, but you want to have gas-propelled cars.
Dude, I've been doing this my whole life. I know what it's like to put my foot in my mouth and talk my way out of it. I'm really good at it. I can smell my own here. Like, you fucked up, buddy. And you're like, no, I like them in this way.
You want to have hybrids. You want to have every kind of a car imaginable. They want to go all electric, and there's no way you can ever load them.
Outswim a shark if you have an electric car. Right. I understand. Yeah. I mean, he caught an inside straight in 2016.
Yeah. That river card really helped him out.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so I got an old story about a border security that he had. You know what? I put this into the sheet in the first place because it sort of scratched an old memory I forgot about, but I don't think I want to play it. Let me ask you if you remember it. Here's the reason I wanted to play the clip. It's worth the commentary, not listening to the clip, because you'll remember it. This guy does so much shit so often that you don't get time to dwell on things that in and of themselves are enough to be like, you never vote for this guy. And then we're currently talking about the next one, which might not be as important. So we're like, oh, come on. They're always talking about last week. It was something I don't remember, but right now it's this petty thing. It's like, yeah, but a week ago he was saying he wanted to build a moat around the border and fill it with sharks and alligators. I forgot about that, but that was real, right?
That was real. He did say that.
So the staffer that was in the room while he talked about it, he's giving an interview, and then Trump's tried to deny he's ever met him, and there's pictures of them like shaking hands. It's like, all right.
One of Waltz's funnier lines,
Christoph Waltz?
No, it's him. Was he wants to build a 30-foot high wall. Well, if he wants to do that, then I'm going to start a company making 30-foot ladders.
Dude, that's exactly it, right? I mean, what was that website we used to use to get around paywalls? It was 12-foot ladder, and their whole ethos was based, or that whatever, it was based on show me a 10-foot wall, I'll show you a 12-foot ladder.
Right.
What's this next clip? I'm writing down Christoph Waltz. Should we do Christoph Waltz as the show title and put Tim Waltz face over?
It's a contender.
It's a bingo. That doesn't even sound like him. I made him Italian. Just thinking of Mario.
I was going to say that was Mario.
Yeah. Mamma mia, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Why does that sound so Italian?
I don't know.
But it does, right?
Now I want lasagna. God damn it, Dustin.
Oh, sorry. Think about curry. Think about smelling curry you can't eat. It's not as appetizing, right? When your neighbor's cooking curry, you're like, I don't like this. When you're cooking curry, you're like, oh my God, I wish it was done already.
Oh, curry's so good. God damn.
Tis. You know what, though? Not going to go well with that pineapple
IPA.
Yeah, you know what I mean, Alan? I don't think it gives you the same flavor enhancement.
The flavor profile is going to be a little off. Yeah.
All right. All about border security. No, don't. Why are you bringing her to this? You know who it is. Could be anybody. In fact, how dare you?
Moving on.
Trump doesn't understand crypto. That's what I'm going to play.
Okay.
People in crypto that are
Talk about my wife like that, Alan.
very, very.
Family listens. What the hell's wrong with you?
I only said hi. I was just greeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are people in crypto that are very, very smart people who do love our country, and they think it.
How do you know I don't want to check on it? Just to make sure, right? Like it's like just test the oil, like rub it between your fingers.
They think it's good. Who knows? Maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand them a little crypto check, right? We'll hand them a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion. There are people.
Alan.
Yes.
I can't be the guy that pretends to like dominate the economic conversations with the tech bro stuff all the time. Like this guy thinks that we're going to hand him a Bitcoin.
They don't exist in a physical space, so you can't hand.
Oh, we'll just sell off a Bitcoin though, and we'll give them the. Oh wait, what are we going to pay them in? Bitcoin. Dollars. That's right. $5 trillion worth of dollars that we sold our Bitcoin for. That now who did you sell that to? You bought it from the. So it's holding a government. So it's holding a coin worth how much money? 35 trillion. What dollars? Okay. So what? And this guy wants to be the president. And he's just talking about this like the problem is most of the people that are enjoying To the Moon probably like don't actually. Most of them do. I don't even want to besmirch them. This guy's a fucking idiot. That is stupid. That's dumb. I had a moment where I was like, who am I insulting here? No, not the people that are trying to have a decentralized currency that maybe you can make a transaction without having to get the government and the banks involved with it. Those people are very rational people. This person's saying things like
in crypto that are very, very smart people who do love our country, and they think it's good. Who knows?
Loads it with the compliment. These people love they're patriots, blah blah blah. Now it's good. They're ignorant, so they don't hate me.
Maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion. Hand them a little crypto check, right? We'll hand them a little Bitcoin, and
it's so dumb. Like, we're so used to him saying dumb things all the time, but this one is exceptionally dumb.
It is pretty.
And
dumb.
nobody's talking about this one.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so.
Is that even on your radar? You didn't hear about that, right?
I did not. No,
you're not surprised, but
I'm not. But he overwhelms the bandwidth of media and the population generally. Yeah. It's just there's so much. If you wanted to, hit every single thing that he says, that's
right. You don't have time for it, right? That's the whole point. Do you remember last week when that prisoner exchange went through, and I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take the right to criticize the fact, because mostly they're jealous that this was like fixing the border, right? Trump wanted that all the journalists and all those people to be there when he was president so he can let them out, like Reagan fucked over Jimmy Carter, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was like, it's just going to take a moment, right, until the right criticizes this deal. And of course they went for, well, Putin got what he wanted. Yeah, Putin's going to get what he wants. That's the trade-off you make from being in an open society and dealing with dictators. Turns out it's more important to bring the people home, right? We talked about this.
We did.
Well, here it is. I mean, it wasn't even a week.
Russia and the U.S. In an exchange, prisoner swap, largest East-West prisoner swap since the Cold War.
Well, as usual, it was a win for Putin or any other country that deals with us. And
you saw at his rally, he said, "I'd like to congratulate Putin for." Yeah, like
it was a win for his good buddy Putin.
And we could have had him back. We should have had him back a long time ago. It should have never happened. It would have.
Ideally, a long time ago, second best in 6 months once I'm president.
Never happened. He shouldn't have been taken in the first place, and it would have never happened with us.
Trevor Reed was taken in the previous administration's time in office. Mr. Biden got him home. Paul Whelan was taken in the previous administration's time in office. President Biden got Paul home.
Time is slowly healing the raw grief of Cindy Warmbier.
This is it, baby. It's a cold day.
But the gaping hole left in her family will never be filled.
Warmbier was the one that got abused in North Korea, right? And
yes,
was sent back once they were like, we can't keep this guy alive any longer. And when was that? I don't want to start this petty bullshit, but we're having the conversation that they're setting
during
up.
the Trump administration.
Yeah, the right wants to talk about this in the context of who's the better president. Well, right. Biden brought them home, and that's what you do. Those are the sacrifices that you make in an open society, and it fucking sucks. But those are the principles that you stick to, because it's more worthwhile knowing that if we have a fucking government, it's to bring our citizens home. It's to make sure that the people that are innocent aren't suffering unnecessarily.
Pax Romana, right? Like, that's the whole point. For him to say, Putin got what he wanted, and I would have done it better. Well, you had your shot and you didn't. So,
yeah, right. It ignores the ones like Warmbier who didn't come home while he was president.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, you mean you're lying? Oh, right. Okay. I don't know why that's a shocker. Sure. I actually wanted to play this coming back from half. I saw this. I haven't listened to it, but like the messenger in chief is Pete Buttigieg.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're trying to say that he's too far left. They say that about literally any Democrat running against literally any Republican. If it was Joe Manchin, they'd be saying the same thing because it's all they know how to say.
I think we're good there. That was There's another minute left in that, but I feel like
that was him on Jen Psaki, I think.
Oh, on top of that's kind of hot. It's kind of outside of his usual range, but I don't know. I also don't know what are we doing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Spicy redhead. I get my Wendy's fix every once in a while. I'll take Dave's juicy double. You know what I'm talking about, Alan?
Frosty on top.
Frosty?
Yeah, the Frosty from Wendy's.
Yeah. Just dump it on her, right?
Lick it off.
Pineapple frosty. All right. God, it's in the gutter. I don't even know where the sheet is. Okay, right here, Trump rally. So before she picked her running mate, most of the conversation had centered around how the right has yet to determine how to properly attack Kamala. Harris.
Yeah.
Swear to God, I've said Kamala for 4 years, and they just started caring when she's running for president. That in itself is kind of like, why didn't you fix this earlier? Like most, what is like at work, right? Like you can't say I'm in trouble for something I did 6 weeks ago. You should have called it out. Like, how am I supposed to have discipline that corrects actions if you don't do it immediately?
Right.
I've been saying Kamala on our podcast for 4 years. I thought I could ask if I could touch her hair.
I think I think a lot of people have been saying it that way. You're not alone.
But now she's running for president, so we fucking care. Right. So anyway,
no, I think. Well, okay. Never mind.
No, go ahead. It's worth talking about.
I think the reason we care is because suddenly her identity as a person is so called into question. I think that's part of that situation.
Oh, but vice president, like, well, nobody cares about this fucking.
Oh, she wasn't being attacked.
The last 45 minutes talking about how much we like this vice president pick.
I mean, so I didn't know she was black. I thought she was Indian. That whole thing, I think, sort of played. I was quoting Trump when I said that, by the way. I think that sort of, that whole narrative had to be countered. So part of that was the name correctly.
I feel like the name correction came out first, but I don't know. I do think that, like, I don't think the left is going to win an argument of. I've said this before, right? Like, don't turn yourself into the language police. It didn't work out for you last time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. By all means, tell me I can't say okay anymore. That was the stupidest fucking timeline. You remember that? Where they're like, it means white power. In fact, I saw this on NPR. Like, Jesus Christ. I saw this NPR. Now I'm getting my metaphors confused.
I actually don't remember that. But...
You don't remember that?
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay didn't mean okay.
Like I know the way. Yeah.
Power.
I'm familiar with that. I didn't know that there was a whole. No, I didn't know there was a whole thing not to do okay, though.
It was my ex fucking girlfriend. I had to be like, I'm having a so it started off as a joke on 4chan that it meant that. And then people started using it as that. And then the left is like, you're right. We should throw away the accepted version of this and on board the racist version, because that makes more sense than maintaining the original meaning of this. We should by all means just be like, look at how bad the right is. Let's throw away a hand gesture so that we can call the right racist. Like did I jump to conclusions of that statement? That's exactly what they did. And it made them look foolish. And it was what I was talking about with the Hillary Clinton stuff before, right? That is what the right is doing now in order to say, you can't call us weird. I never fucked my couch. I know it's true, but it's odd. All right. So,
I used a condom though. So
it was a rubber glove, Alan. It was a rubber glove.
It was latex.
So, latex glove inside out. Yeah. Let's get the facts straight while we're making the story up. So the point is, they didn't know how to go after Kamala for her.
Harris. Say Harris.
I tried to say this in the first place. That whole rant came from the last time I tried to do this. So they've been trying to figure out how to go after Harris, but they're like, turns out we're a bunch of white people and people like Alan, where it's hard to tell. So they found the blackest lady they could and went down to Georgia with her and had her saying this.
Oh, it's not a.
Man, I set that up good and racist, Alan. I said they found the blackest lady they could, and they did this. So they found a black surrogate, basically. They're like, oh, I got it. I can't be racist, but let's get a black lady to say it. She might even say the N-word, Alan. Tune in.
Ooh.
She doesn't.
Your vote. The left is trying to tout this woman as a savior for the black community, but all she's done is hurt the black community since she came into the game. See, the first step in destroying the black community is to dismantle the black family. So aside from her record as a prosecutor,
I don't mean to step down to their level, but if the Big Mike rumor is a thing, wouldn't they have to admit that this person is in a questionable area as well, based off of like their way of attacking that? Not mine. I think this is a woman. Yes. But like, maybe you aren't the best judge of what like athletic black woman looks like.
Why don't we ask Mrs. Willie Brown if Kamala Harris cares about black families?
Right, so I liked this in a sense because I was like, oh shit, I'm guilty of this one. I've been saying this like since 2020. I was like, oh shit, she's fucking Willie Brown. Yeah. When I talked about it, I was like, yeah, she fucked Willie Brown. She brought up Mrs. Willie Brown. They'd been separated for 10 years when they were inappropriately, in my opinion, fucking. I would still like to criticize Kamala Harris for fucking Willie Brown. I think that's worthy criticism. You fucked up by saying that his wife might have cared. She didn't. They'd split up.
And this is coming from the side whose candidate has been convicted of 34 felonies for trying to hide his affair with the porn star. While his wife was pregnant, he's such a family guy, dude. Clearly, like that matters to them a lot.
He's a family guy. Yeah, you're right, man. You got a good point there. All right, let's get on to the best of the right. They're not taking the weird thing so well. That's how I'm setting this one up. This is Ben Shapiro talking to
about wet ass pussy.
Yes, Ben Shapiro is talking about his wife's dry ass pussy.
Talked a little bit about the sort of weird slur and the fact that they're using this. Again, to me, this is all projection. They have trans influencers jiggling their fake breasts on the lawn of the White House.
Trans person, it's a woman who had her breast chopped off and decided to walk down the runway with a discarded pair of fake breasts in a clear bag, bloodied flesh, cut off the healthy breasts of a 14-year-old girl and sterilize her.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Trans influencers jiggling their fake breasts on the lawn of the White House.
On my show today, I talked a little bit about the sort of weird slur and the fact that they're using.
Stop, sir. I'm sorry. What, like, do you get the point there? Because, like, to an extent, I feel like it's indulgent to play that, but like, they have to find these like edge case scenarios to be able to, like, oh, a trans influencer, like the average trans person, right? Or these like examples of somebody doing like some kind of performance art, which is by nature designed to offend you, or at least draw a reaction out of you. And then that's in their context of them being like, hey, don't call us weird.
It's a slur, Dustin. It's a slur. It's yeah. I mean, I think you're correct in that they're having a difficult time countering that narrative because it's just because they can't. It's just not in their skill set.
Yeah, and the more they talk about it, the more it makes them look like you're obsessed.
It's a feedback loop.
Well, yeah, because like, dude, like you are. This is a classic case of somebody who is obsessing over something that isn't the thing to be concerned about, and you keep bringing it up. Like, I'm telling you, like, I care about trans rights, I care about all of those things, but I don't wake up and spend every second of my day making sure that that's what I focus on. And you seem to be focusing on arguing against that 24/7. Like, you are the one that's weird and obsessed with this stuff. Like.
And that's
I just want to not care that person exists. And if I run into them, treat them like an individual, like make that world possible. And I don't think that what we're doing right now makes that person feel comfortable enough to just meet me and talk to me about politics without it being like, no, let's spend 30 minutes talking about how much I want to touch your hair.
I think that's actually your average everyday American would probably have a very similar take, regardless of political party.
Yeah. Kind of criticism of Kamala. They're talking about how she hugs too much.
Yeah, now you get it. It's
Laura Ingraham. Listen to the way she talks. She does that. She has. I feel like I don't want to make fun of her. She has some kind of a lazy mouth speech impediment. But she always sounds like. Did she have a stroke? Maybe she did.
I don't know.
Yeah, now you get it. It's better for her to stay in her sweet spot as the hugger in chief.
Their big attack on her now is she
likes to hug people.
So she's too. I don't think of her as the person that's too nice, but let me get this right. Your attack plan is to say her big flaw is she tries to hug people too much. Yeah, we got to keep that as far as we can from the White House. Right?
It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
It's like, why are you burning calories on this? Like,
right.
Like your judgment, I find your judgment to be questionable. And they haven't got to it yet. You texted me over the weekend. I told you, I was like, I am watching the Olympics and I'm seeing Kamala Harris ads like frequently, like most commercial breaks. And you're like, have you seen any attack ads on her prosecutorial record? I was like, no. And I don't know how the Law and Order right chooses to make that argument.
Yeah, I agree. I've definitely heard some people adjacent to the Harris campaign sort of making mouth noises if they're concerned that's going to happen. You know, the whole thing, like the thing they did with the guy who, the sanctuary city thing, where this guy was allowed to live in this place, then he murdered people, so obviously that's a bad thing.
Well, I mean, it is a worthwhile argument because, like, as far as we know, nobody else is killing people. Right? Like people that are natural born.
As far as we know, that's definitely not happening.
We just solved this immigrant sanctuary cities problem.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there was concern that, maybe she let off somebody, gave them a lighter sentence and then they went and did something.
Oh, I mean, that's.
But that's
I can't imagine that there isn't a prosecutor that you can't find something like that.
I was just going to say that. I think every DA or
every case involves a decision, right?
Sure.
And you can't always have been right. And I don't want to give people I don't like her, I say this all like, I don't know, like people just don't think with nuance. It's like, I want her to win so that I can be mad at her for 4 years. Like I expect her to disappoint me in ways that will marginally be better than Donald Trump because we don't get a choice we like. But like, I feel like I've spent most of my life saying I'm not going to vote or I'm going to give a protest vote, which I understand, but I'm tired of it. I want to vote for her so that I could be like, motherfucker, I voted for you. Why do you suck so much? And when I say that, like it's like the mandatory service, right? Like I literally have skin in the game. I helped get you here. Don't piss me off. And I feel like it would mean more if I actually had picked one of those people. Because I've protest voted my entire life, like literally my entire life I've protest voted. And what it leaves me with is both of you suck. None of this is my problem. I'll keep wishing that things will be better, and it never fucking gets better. Even if I vote for my candidates that I think are right, it doesn't change anything. So I'm voting for you, and I'm going to motherfuck you into it's the Simone Weil thing, right? Like she really changed my life. Like the whole pick the lesser of two evils, but recognize you voted for evil, so hold that evil accountable.
Yeah.
And like the hardcore, what's it? It's that like military guy, Jocko, that radical acceptance, radical whatever, like the way of like really accepting that reality is to say no, I will lean into that, and now it's my thing. Now you are my problem, and I need to be vocally outspoken against you. And yeah, I can't wait to fucking hate her for 4 years. But as long as we're comparing her to Donald Trump, this is a fucking no-brainer.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. I got a clip called Republicans for Harris. Well, I got a clip about the trans boxer. It's supposed to happen in the Olympic. I want to talk about this in the Culture Wars, but I think this should have been under my Donald Trump clips. I misplaced this, but if we're going to play a clip of Trump, it should be this one because we are going to talk about this subject in a little bit. I don't want to talk about the subject yet, but this is worthwhile.
And I will keep men out of women's sports if that's okay.
That's okay.
If Kamala Harris gets in, the travesty that is taking place at the Paris Olympics will come to America when we host the Los Angeles Olympics. And by the way,
Los Angeles Olympics.
which I was president, we happened to get it.
We got it while I was president. Thank God that the IOC took the lobbying from the United States because I did.
The president,
nobody fucking wants this. Nobody wants the Olympics in their. Like, did you see all the protests in France? Nobody fucking wants this. It costs money. Nobody. I lived in LA when they announced it, and I was like, no, I better not be here in 2028. Like the traffic's horrible already, let alone how worse traffic will be in 2028.
The Olympics are a shit show.
Also got you a thing called the World Cup, which is coming very soon.
Anyways, so the trans boxer, it's not a trans boxer. We'll argue about that in a second. But for now, let's do a clip that I've decided to title Republicans for Trump. Republicans for Trump.
For us as Arizona Republicans.
It's a little quiet. This is the first one is the mayor of Tucson, Arizona.
To admit the obvious and to start saying the quiet part out loud, which is that our party's nominee is not qualified for office, and that we need to vote for the adult in the room, and that is Kamala Harris.
It is time to put partisan loyalties aside and vote for the leadership that will truly represent the people we want to be in the eyes of the world. Character matters.
And I think the time has come for us as Arizona Republicans.
You know, it's a little Chris Christie shit. I guess it doesn't really land anymore, but it is refreshing to hear, right?
It is refreshing to hear. Yeah, I think they're actually doing an event tomorrow, the Republicans for Harris. So they're out there.
I have 2 clips for Best of the Left. I have a Kamala. Guys, by all means, keep sending in the Kamala Harris clips, but you're just telling me that you haven't been listening to the show. Like, all we've done for the last 4 years, I would before the show be like, I don't have anything good for Best of the Left. Let me type Kamala Harris into Twitter.
See if there's some.
Yeah. And it was always a hilarious thing. And people are like sending me all these like what has been and what can be stuff. I'm like, it's just, I mean, I'm offended. Like, I thought you liked me. Like, I literally played this like sometime over the last 4 years. There are new clips. We can find them. Here's one of the new ones. Let me make sure I'm sharing it.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
So this one was supposed to be a big gotcha over the weekend. I don't hear it. People said that she's doing a black scent.
I don't hear
Let's
that.
win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Now, the best I can tell, there's another 27 seconds of this clip. Okay. So like, if that's what it is, if you're saying it and you have a 32-second long clip, you don't only put it in the first 5 seconds, right?
Right.
So there's supposed to be more of it. Best I can tell, it's the Gunna and 2024. That's the best I can get is Gunna, which like yet again, Republicans being introduced to code switching for the first time in their lives. Like that's like the best and simplest explanation for it. And it's not even that big of an example of it.
Let's win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Here's the rest. I don't hear anything.
Yes, we will.
We even clip it up too.
So let's get right. So in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
How is that in the clip where you're trying to say that she's using a black scent? Like, there's been 22 seconds now. For the last 17 seconds, I have heard nothing of your initial claim other than Gunna and 2024. Like, make a 5-second clip.
Including, for example, on the issue of...
She just sounds like Kamala Harris.
Yeah, she just sounds like a person talking. Alex Jones went off on the same thing.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah,
saying it was black scent?
Yes.
What was his point? Am I missing something?
He doesn't make points. He just throws shit at the wall.
Okay, what were the things he said were his points?
He said that she was trying to feign a black accent to appeal to a different audience.
It sounded like Kamala Harris, with the
sounded like-
exception of Gunna and 2024. Should I type 2024? No, that's too niche. Yeah, too niche. Not like can I put your hair? Christoph. I still like Christoph Waltz. I like Christoph Waltz. I think that's timely. We should save Can I Touch It? That's evergreen.
I like the window to the walls too.
Well, I already have that. It's already a meme. Should we make that a show title? I could do it. I could put the Lil Jon with his face on it.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Window to the walls. Yeah. Why the fuck not, Alan? Sweat dripped down my balls. Nancy Pelosi talking about JD Vance pick. This is supposed to be Best of the Left. I hope I didn't fuck up and only play clips that made them look normal.
Did Donald Trump make a mistake when he chose JD Vance?
Oh, I think it was a great choice.
Okay. Turns out I've only been playing clips that make Republicans look bad. I'm sorry. Sometimes they do it to themselves, you know?
Was that Barbara Walters?
It couldn't have been. That's Leslie Stahl. That's Leslie Stahl.
Okay. I was like,
okay, now I want to see it again, though. Yeah, is that Leslie Stahl? It's the blonde. She's doing a Barbara Walters haircut, though.
Yeah, and her voice kind of, too.
Did Donald Trump make a mistake when he chose JD Vance?
Oh, I think it was a great choice.
Did
Barbara Walters
Donald Trump make
Someone can isolate those Pelosi laughs. I think that can end up on the soundboard for after the comedy clips.
Barbara Walters no longer with us, so clearly.
Yeah, that's also another reason.
I was thinking it when I was like, that can't be her. Yeah.
Speaking of funny laughs.
It's another battle in the culture wars. Oh, not the culture wars. They're worried about a culture war. Culture wars. Stop with the culture wars.
Thanks, Trash, for sending that in. I appreciate that one every week. I got a great one to start this off. We're going to talk about Ice-T, the rapper. Rapper. How dare I?
Rapper.
Sorry, rapper.
You're appropriating culture, Dustin.
Sorry. Dog, Ice-T did like rap metal in the 80s. I can you talk however I want. This guy has been a fucking icon. I love this guy. And like politically, he's always been political. Maybe well, I'll save criticism. I also don't like to overblow his like cultural
impact.
Yeah, and also like there is the whole meme of how all of his lines in Law and Order were like the dumbest thing you could imagine. So like I don't want to make him sound like he's like, you know, the brightest.
Well, he didn't write the lines. I mean, you know, he just
I know. I realize that. Yeah, I'm catching myself in my own web. This is supposed to be a praise on him. A cool connection that I failed to have reached before. Maybe I haven't, just memory hold it.
Democrats and the Republicans wear red and blue, and they gangbang. And I just said, how odd is this? And these are the super gangsters. People are always at me, are you left wing? Are you right wing? Are you conservative? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why do I gotta be anything? I have my own opinions. Some of this shit might fall on the right. Some of this shit might, but I'm not in your motherfucking gang. So, you know, I just turned them into the gangs that they mirror on the streets. Now you got the Democrats, which are blue, and the Blood Publicans, which are red. And the hook is fuck what you heard, both wings on the same bird.
Well,
Isn't that something?
That is something.
Wait, birds?
Turns the frickin' birds gay.
Sorry.
I think Blubkins would be a better.
No. That's taken. Hold on. Did you say Blumpkins?
I said Blubkins because he said Repub.
Oh, Reblubkins. That's tough.
Reblumpkins.
Republicans. Oh, I'll write that down. Pub. How do I do Blumpkins? That's a funny word. What do you think that means?
I'll go look it up.
Oh, okay. I got something else.
Google images.
Yeah, Google image. Only image search.
Yeah, just image search.
God, you're not going to smell it. So Corey sent that in. Thank you, Corey. You know how for years I've been saying we're at peak culture wars. It's just one of those things where it's like you don't recognize it. You don't recognize the peak, and peak doesn't mean it's short-lived, right? Like waveforms can have long troughs and peak, right? So you know, if it's a wide wave, the peak of that, the crest of that peak of that wave can take a long time to get across, right? I'm convinced we're at peak culture wars. Here is former Georgia Republican lieutenant. So a Republican lieutenant governor from Georgia took a lot of heat. This is Jeff Duncan. Spells his name wrong. He's been taking a lot of heat on Truth Central.
Truth Central.
Because he's been like, look, I'm a Republican. Like GOP is not the GOP anymore. It's the MAGA party. Yeah. And I still would like to be a Republican. And that doesn't mean I like Kamala Harris, but I don't like what you've done, interlopers, to take over my party. It's the Trump party now. That's me. That's why I'm pissing everyone off. That's like, hey, look at Dustin saying conservative things. I like this show. What the fuck?
This is now starting to not be Donald Trump's problem. This is starting to be the Republican Party's problem. We have to call him out for what he is. He's a felonious thug who walks down the street and throws sucker punches at people like Brian Kemp, like African-American journalists, like John McCain, and the list goes on and on and on again. And the Republican Party is content sitting across the street watching it happen and not calling him out, not jumping into that fight and saying, you are wrong for us. This 10% in the middle, which now feels like it's growing to be bigger than 10% in the middle, that's going to decide this election, are paying attention. And I've never seen a human be more self-destructive than Donald Trump the last 2 weeks. He continues to do it over and over and over again. And when he loses, and the Republican Party finally catches their breath and wakes up and says, we need a GOP 2.0, there'll be some people around, but it's going to take time to fix. This is now starting to not be done.
3.0. I mean, the GOP got that name because it was referential to them being the party of Lincoln and the Republican Party. So that's the 2.0, especially if you go through like the Reagan years. This is 3.0. There's a whole Peter Zion video about that. It wasn't my idea.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly are still Republicans out there who are very anti-MAGA, anti-Trump, and
Rhinos, Alan. They got TDS. It's so cute how they have like little words to like, just like, oh, let's just dismiss this whole logical concept you're trying to express. TDS, Rhino. All right, no more sounds from you.
I don't know if the MAGA movement is going to go anywhere, though. I mean, even say Trump loses or wins, whatever, post-Trump.
The only way we exercise this is for him to get reelected, honestly.
But post-Trump, let's say he gets elected, serves another 4 years, and leaves power without violence. I don't think the MAGA movement goes away in the party. I mean,
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
Vance will keep carrying that flag.
Minority left because people join gangs. Do you think people that live in gang-ridden areas want to join gangs? It's part of being a human being. You join up in a side. And people like me and you are rare. Like, to be able to say, like, I mean, I'm not critical. I mean, I'm trying to act like we're all independents. You are more of a Democrat than I am, but you don't just fall in line. It's the same way.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to join your fucking gang. Like, appeal to me if you want me to vote for you. You know, you
absolutely
have a lower threshold to vote for Democrats than I do, but I do seem to. As long as this is the Republican Party being offered, do I dare say it again? I voted for George W. Bush. I've made mistakes. Okay. Let's talk about this. We can't do our show and have a segment called Culture Wars and not talk about this, but I want to keep it tight, and we're past 2.5 hours. I think if we keep it under 3, we're good. We still got 10 minutes till we get to 2:45, and we got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 sounds left if we play them all. I don't know how long we have to talk about this, but there was a bit of controversy in the Olympics. Why don't you set it up before I become too verbose?
So Aman Khalif was a boxer, and she got into a fight.
Is her name Aman Khalif?
No, I think it's Aman. I think.
Okay, is it? I mean, I-man.
Or is it?
It's spelled IMANE.
Yeah.
So I-man.
It's not Khalif. It's Keith.
I see what happened. They saw I-man.
Anyways, so she got in this fight. The other boxer threw in the towel at 46 seconds in. Said she'd never been hit like that. And
wait, in a punch me in the face competition?
Right. Yes.
So somebody voluntarily joined a punch me in the face competition.
Yeah, and then
punch me in the face. I've never been punched in the face so much before in my life.
Yeah, and then so
wait, hold on. This Aman Khalif that everyone go ahead.
So there became this uproar saying that she was a trans person, and that's why she had a physical advantage over her opponent. Now that's not true. She is not a trans person. She has female genitalia. She does have I'm sorry.
Have you checked?
Not personally.
No, because but like it's a weird moment because there's this part where people are like, being a woman is being born with a vagina. Being a man is being born with a penis. And it's like, okay, and then they're like, okay, no, this person maybe has a vagina, but she's clearly a man. It's like, oh, so we're getting into genetics. So do you want to back that up in time to when we talked about things before we understood genetics? Like, no, you're just going off your feelings. Please go
on. And so she does have a condition which, wherein she produces more testosterone than an average female. But that doesn't make her not a woman. She still is a woman. Just like Michael Phelps produces half the lactose.
He doesn't get lactose, right?
Yeah.
So his muscles don't burn, so he can ignore pain.
He can endure it.
Yeah,
way more than the average person. So that doesn't make him not a male person. That's just he happened to have that genetic disposition, and there you go. But that doesn't change the rules of the competition.
Have you ever heard of Klinefelter syndrome?
No, I don't think I may have heard the name.
Somebody that I know is a person is a man just before we get into this, like they're a man, they were born a man. They have Klinefelter syndrome. So that means they're an XXY. So this is a male that has 2 X chromosomes, which men just settle down, like put your seatbelt on, like before you get your outrage hats on. I'm going to say something that's going to drive you fucking crazy. I'm joking, but like the species is the XX. We are the XY. We are the variant of the species, which allows reproduction because we do the stuff to the egg, right? But like
do the stuff to the egg,
right? So, but there's the XX, and the XY makes us the men's, right? Am I doing this right? Typical male, right? Is XY. So we are the variant that allows reproduction to happen. I seem to find that as a perfectly satisfying way to be proud of my species. If my maleness, should I need to identify with that in order to be a justified human being, which is a weird thing, right? Like people keep attaching so much to things that they didn't like do. We talk about that all we talk about it all the time in terms of like whiteness and stuff like that. It's like, why on earth would I ever care about that? It's like, I mean, I happen to like being a man. I think it's been pretty great.
You can pee outside standing up.
I don't have man pride. I am proud of who I am, and
as a person,
and I see biologically how that has a function. And and in terms of finding a source to take pride in, I guess it's pretty cool, the biological role of being the differentiated version of the species that does the stuff to the egg, right? But should you be born with 2 X chromosomes and a Y, still a man, but you fall into this 1 in 500 to 1,000 males. What I'm getting to is something that I want to refer to a text that a friend of the show, Dr. Jacob Kaufman, sent me, who insisted we talk about this. I was like, insist all you want. We have a culture war segment. It's
going to happen anyways. Yeah.
So he said, when it comes to biology, we have genotype, which is what the gene codes for, and phenotype, which is what the genetic expression is. So for chromosomes, we think of XY male, XX female. But as you know, there are anomalies that fall outside of the range of chromatic chromosome patterns. As an overview, he gives a few of the XXY combinations, XXX, 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 okay, XXYY, all of these things that can happen. But when a baby is born, they look at it and go, female. Deal with that later if there's any. Very rare. Everything I just described is an edge case, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And so someone in Turkey was born as a female and may have this chromosomic expression that falls into these edge cases. That very rare individual happened to get good at boxing, and then, having been born a woman, got into a woman-only punch me in the face competition, to which she's lost fights 2 years ago, and nobody complained about that. And then she punched a woman in Italy who was clearly not up for it because 40 seconds. Did you see the punch?
I didn't see the punch. No.
It was, look, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But it was like, I've watched a lot of boxing. This was not the punch that you go, I've never been punched in the face so hard in my life.
It wasn't the Mike Tyson.
No, this chick fucking sucks. Like, she's bad at boxing. She got hit in the face. She thought twice about it. 46 seconds into a fight. Honestly, she's kind of a coward. Like, she joined up for a fight and said, never mind, I don't want to get hit in the face. Like, it wasn't that bad of a punch, honestly. Like, it really wasn't. Women have been fighting women in MMA, hitting each other a lot harder than this
for years,
and with gloves on, by the way, right? Not knuckles like that. Anyway, and then that lady lost her next fight. That the man lady lost her next fight, and nobody cared then. So
yeah, it was all culture war bullshit.
And it was explained immediately the day of, and then 3 days later, when people weren't explaining it anymore, they were like, "Hey, let's make this outrage again," and it took off.
Jones got on this one too, and he likes to project that tough guy image, and he's like, you want to fight a real man? Come swing at me, I'll take you out. That was his whole take on that.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Does he understand he's saying, I'm gonna go punch this woman?
I don't think he does.
Okay. I think I do have a clip of her. If this is the clip, no, it's not. You know what? You know how I actually set this up? I was going to say, maybe I don't need to overtalk this. This guy says all the points.
Hello. Today we have Imani Khalif. You may also know her as the person who beat up the Italian boxer in 46 seconds. Italy's Angelina Carini said, I've never been hit so hard in my life. Wow, it must have been so hard. Let's see it. So here we go. Here's the punch. Boom. There.
That was it.
And then she withdrew. I mean, I've seen harder punches down at the crash. But since then, Angela Carini has apologized because she knows herself. She was acting like a little bit of a cunt. And then the Daily Mail said biological male. I mean, of all cunts to run with, the Daily Mail. Cunts. And then you'd think cunts like Jake Paul coming out. Doesn't matter what you believe, this is wrong and dangerous. Of course it's fucking dangerous. It's boxing, you'd think, cunt. But let's rewind to 2023. The IBA tested her and found high levels of testosterone in her system because she has Sawyer syndrome. A lot of you are led to believe they lifted her dress and saw a fucking dick. So Khalif's genetic disorder helps her produce higher testosterone, which is an advantage, but
Yeah, we're getting to that. Now he's going to talk about the whole Michael Phelps having
Yeah.
advantage. I think we're done with this. I did have fun talking about it more than I thought I would because I love picking apart these culture war bullshit things. But
yeah, we've said enough.
All right. I'm not going to play this alphabet song. Got a couple of fun ones. So we'll land the plane gently. So look at that. This is going to be really close to 2:45. That's a tight show, Alan.
That's
it's not
a
even
tight
going to be
show.
10 o'clock by the time we're done. It's 8 o'clock where you live.
It
We go have
is.
another sandwich. Sandwich. Can you believe Snoop was such a deep thinker? Friend of the show, Connor, sent this in to me. Hold on, let me start it over.
Virtue of his symbolic.
Big Snoop Dogg. I got an audiobook of his.
For power exists solely by virtue of its symbolic ability to designate the other, the enemy, what is at stake, what threatens us, what is evil. Today this ability has been lost, and correspondingly, there exists no opposition able or willing to designate power as evil. We have become very weak in terms of satanic, ironic, polemical, and antagonistic energy. Our societies have become fanatically soft, or softly fanatical.
Pretty deep, right? Like
That's pretty deep.
Would you have imagined that from him?
Actually, I think I would have. I've heard him speak in many different environments, and yeah, he's pretty cerebral, actually.
That's a friend of mine using a Snoop AI to read a Baudrillard book. That was some simulacrum. Nope. Snoopulacrum. Snoopulacrum. Yeah. All right. Here's how it would. You know what? Hold on. I think I had one more thought on that other thing. I thought I did. I was looking through my conversation with Jake. I guess we're done. It bothers me.
What's that?
The last one. It's edge cases. That's what I was going to say. Like that whole story with the Olympic athlete was that there are no trans people in the Olympics. They made a rule about it. So in the world where there aren't any trans people in the Olympics, they still had to have a fucking outrage. So they found a woman that like years ago, they would have just been like, look at this butch woman, right? And they would have been like, yeah, of course that butch ass woman won. She's actually my favorite because she's the manliest one. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, before all, thanks to woke, people had to like be familiar with trans people, right? So they're like, yeah, instead they're like, I bet that's actually a man. Whereas before they'd be like, look at this butch woman that wins the boxing fight. Of course she does, right? Like you lived through this. You were there with me, Alan. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
Exactly what people would have said 20 years ago, right?
Yep. You're not wrong.
And instead they're like, we have this new standard where it's like, no, you're not a woman because I can't fuck you and put a baby in you. Right? They're like, when I look at you or I hear about your genetic disposition, I know that you can't be a childbearing female, therefore you don't matter.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's pretty sick and twisted.
I appreciate you letting me get all hot and bothered and saying, we're trying to land the plane. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was doing a little permission to buzz the tower. God damn it, that's twice. Remember that in Top Gun when he was
Yes, of course.
Okay. Copy. Ben Wonder sent in the perfect clip. And what I mean by that is I have been trying so hard to shoehorn in a did you know about the origin of two things. Foo Fighters and Kilroy was here. Now, earlier I asked you, do you know about Kilroy is here? And you didn't. So I was like, well, I don't want to have that be the whole thing if you're not familiar with it. It's okay if it's only half of it. I'm going to assume you've heard of Foo Fighters.
Of course.
So now most people would say Foo Fighters, if you believe the lore coming from the band, is that's just like aviator slang for aliens or Foo Fighters. There's a little bit more to it, but I'm not there yet. Now I'm going to play you a clip that is going to set up the opportunity to talk about that. I have not been able to tell you my uptight did you know that never seems to have a good reason to talk about it until Ben Wonders sent in this clip.
You running out of options in your fight against Foo? At Grohl, Hawkins, Mendel, Shiflett, Smear and Associates, we've been fighting Foo for over 25 years.
We'll fight Foo day and night to make sure you receive the compensation that you deserve.
Don't try and fight Foo by yourself. Call our toll-free number today.
Just listen to this satisfied customer.
I tried to fight Foo without success for years. Then I called Grohl, Hawkins, Mendel, Shiflett, Smear and Associates. I was awarded a cash settlement of $5 million.
All right. The joke's honestly it's a little tedious, but it gives me the opportunity to talk about Foo Fighters, which gives me the opportunity to talk about Kilroy was here. This is happening in the show.
Okay.
So, were you familiar with the explanation of the definition of what Foo Fighters, or the explanation of how they named their band? Have you heard?
Not really.
So the accepted understanding, I mean, Dave said it, Foo Fighters was what naval aviators would describe what they would call, like, gremlins, UFOs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, oh, there's these other pilots out there, but we called them Foo. Which doesn't really answer it, because why did you pick Foo?
Yeah. Why?
There's an origin for Foo.
Okay.
Forward operating officer.
Oh,
So
I know Fob. I didn't know Foo.
So I'm gonna mess this up in terms of the way our military friends are maybe familiar with, but I believe it mostly had to do with Gallipoli. It was some invading force during that would have been World War I, and they now I'm getting my wars confused. I learned this a few weeks ago, and now I've forgotten some of it. So let's not get into specifics, other than there was the main, like, invading force, right? Infantry.
Okay.
Right. But prior to that, there were these spooks that would go out in front, and they would gain intel and, recon the area. And they would scouts, you might say. Yes. And some of them were a little cheeky about it. And if you were the people that were in the front lines of the war, you would think you're the first person to get to that point. But when you'd keep coming along these points where the scouts had been previously and see these little notes from them, it was sort of inspirational, but also mysterious, right? And they would write Foo was here, or Foo, forward operating officer. Foo. Yeah. You fast forward that a little bit, and that becomes a part of the sort of subculture. It during World War II have to do with a lot of stuff with, like, gremlins and UFOs and things like that. By that point, Foo was enough of, like, in the lexicon that it attached itself into the answer for what the Foo Fighters were. But if you back it up, it had to do with that forward operating officer. That goes back to Kilroy was here. So Kilroy was here, which I'm finding you're not familiar with. So Kilroy was here was something that was in World War II would get written almost as like a meme. It was sort of like people would graffiti that everywhere. And for the longest time, they didn't have any understanding as to why. So I'm not disappointed you haven't heard of it, because I can imagine a lot of people maybe haven't heard of it. So, like, it was this drawing of, like, a guy with, like, a long, like, Snoopy nose dipping over, and some hands over a wall, like cartoon fingers, and the words Kilroy was here. It was like a graffiti style that people would repeat all over.
Okay.
And when looking into the first instance of it, it's attached to sort of that Foo thing. When they were pumping out all of these ships rapid fire to try to get them out into service, well, first it's going to have to do with a story about rivet fraud I don't want to dedicate too much time into rivet fraud, but there was a problem going on where, remember when we talked to the populist guy and the railroads were like double charging?
Yeah.
The riveters found that they would get paid by how many rivets they set, and at the end they would just invoice their rivets, right? So what they could do is set all their rivets, and then the inspector would come through and put chalk marks there. They could erase the chalk marks, and then when they'd come to check the next section, they put chalk marks over it again, and they could justify spending more rivets.
Ah, okay.
So once they caught on to that, the inspectors started like signing their name or doing something that was like, it was harder to just replace with checks. I can't remember how that works, but one of the inspectors was this guy Kilroy, and Kilroy would have to inspect these nose cones and hard to reach places, top of the steam stack. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? But like places where if you were inside the ship as an infantryman being shipped across the Atlantic and you're just sitting in the boat, you're like, who the fuck climbed up there and wrote Kilroy?
Okay.
And it became a thing that Kilroy had been here. And then that translated to like, and then you get out to the front and my God, Kilroy was here too.
Okay.
Isn't that wild?
I get it. Yeah. That is pretty wild.
And so people would find more and more impossible locations to write down Kilroy was here. And there was a rumor that the last astronaut to be on the moon wanted to write Kilroy is here there. He didn't, but he did write his daughter's name in the sand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Sort of that was like I said, it would have been an awkwardly shoehorned did you know? But I had my Foo Fighters clip to do it.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know, I had a setup thing to say to end the show, but it does feel a little forced, but who cares? Did you see the white dudes for Trump? Oh no, white dudes for Harris rally?
Yeah, I did.
Zoom
Zoom
call.
call.
Zoom
Yeah.
call. That was pretty cringy, right?
It's kind of cringy.
Could you imagine a white dudes for Trump?
Yeah, that would be I don't even think cringe is the right word for that. But
No, I don't think so either. I tried to find the sheet. I wanted to hit this button while you were laughing. Give me another laugh, Alan. See you in 2 days.
Well, the guy's banging
Drive safe.
you.
Y'all let me
Drive
in
safe.
this damn house.
Oh, how about that?
Come in the name of peace.
LMFAO.
So what in the world is this?
Is Kevin McCarthy a moron, and if so, why?
Why would you say something that stupid?
I come without explanations or solutions.
I'm a very sexy lady, cat turd.
I will not suffer this harlot.
How great! An anti-American Marxist.
Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself.
Read the news.
China is asshole.
God bless the United States.
Podcasting.